All right. Alrighty. It's time. Time to once again read one of my stories, and unlike the last one, this one should hopefully be good, or at least good as you can get for a fan fiction you wrote when you were in high school. But nah, for real, back in the day, even towards the end of the series, I remember Grand Reopening in particular being one of my favorites. So, yeah, hopefully it's still as good as I remember it to be. I wouldn't say it's objectively the best. I would say that would be Sister Location. I feel like that'd be the most objectively best. Though, to be fair, that's also because I was just mostly just copying word for word what was happening in the game, which, yeah. That one was kind of a struggle for me, Sister Location, because the other games, they had the same basic mechanics, but no two nights were the same. Then you got Sister Location, which was literally just as linear as you could get, so that was definitely an interesting one. Okay. I'm just going to wait a few more minutes just to hopefully let everybody get in. Uh, yeah, sounds like I got two kitties trying to get in. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. Alright. So, like I said, this particular story is based off of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Yeah, this, again, I gotta keep reiterating. When I write these stories, the only stories we have at the time for reference is the game, the latest game that came out, aka the game the book is based off of. So it is kind of funny to look back at these stories to just see how the community was at the time, just to see what the standard theories were at the time. Because, I mean, I guess the further along the book series got, the more I had to basically make my own my own canon at that point, just to not, because the theories and the lore changed as time went on. But obviously, I couldn't do that to my own series, so at that point, I kind of had to take some creative liberties and make my own alternate universe, which I'm happy with. I'm glad I went that approach, but yeah, the first two stories in particular, I feel, are the most set in stone of how things were at the time. I'd say, well, I keep saying it wasn't until the books, with the actual Five Nights at Freddy's books made by Scott, I feel like that's when things started to go really downhill. No, okay, not downhill, but confusing, because, like I said, I'm really annoyed how, like, if you want to make the books, make it their own separate universe, that's one thing. But when you take that same lore from the books and throw it into the games without properly setting them up, it just doesn't sit right with me, because I shouldn't have to buy a book to understand a game, if that makes sense. But I'm getting a bit off topic there. Sorry, I just needed to vent about that a little bit. Big reason I'm not really caught up on the FNAF lore as I used to be. Okay. Five Nights at Freddy's grand reopening. Whew. Looking at the cover now, the only thing I feel like I would change is Mangle. Like I would want an image closer to how, Mangle actually looks in the jump scare. Like the ending, like everyone else. As of now, she's just kind of I call Mangle a girl. Let me just get that out of the way. I know there's still a debate to this day on what Mangle's gender is, but I'm gonna call Mangle a girl. For all intents and purposes, just for simplicity's sake, I call Mangle a girl. Hey, Slender Slayer. Glad you could make it. Alright. High schooler Jeremy Fitzgerald needs a job for the summer to save up for a new car. Unfortunately, the only job available is the night watchman for the newly rebuilt Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The pay's not that great, and there have been many bad rumors about the restaurant, but it's the best he can find. Once on the job, though, he discovers there's more than meets the eye about the family-friendly animatronic characters he needs to guard. With his only protection being an empty Freddy Fazbear head and a flashlight with limited battery life, Jeremy wonders if he can survive Five Nights at Freddy's. The author behind the #1 fanfic on Wattpad returns in his new story based on a new game by Scott Cawthon. I know that kind of sounds cocky to call it the #1 fanfic, but no, at this point in time, if you searched Five Nights at Freddy's on Wattpad, my original story was the one that showed up. So that wasn't just me, being cocky and stuff like that, dramatic. Like, I guess it is kind of, like, I guess it doesn't matter what my intention was. It still is kind of meh, but whatever. Oh, boy. Yeah, so the estimated time here is about 2 hours. Alright. A little longer than the other stories, but I'm not necessarily complaining in that regard. I mean, I say that until my throat starts burning, but I don't know. Like, even with the first story, I gotta admit, the pacing is a little quick. So I think that's another reason I enjoyed this one so much in retrospect, is because I feel like there was definitely more of a story to be had outside of the nights. Anyway, guess we better get right to it. Last updated November 30th, 2015. Whew. Man. Oh my goodness. I may also like Son Amy, Broppy. No. Why would you think I would like that? Why? Oh, Wattpad never change. Alright. Here we go. Summer plans. Hey, Jeremy, Jacob asked as he poked his head in my room. Now that school's out, you got any plans for the summer? Meh, I simply replied as I put my headphones on and started playing my music. Jacob walked over, yanked them off, and looked at me. It's gotta be something you want to do, he told me. It's summer vacation. I deeply sighed. Hey, I finally learned what the word side is right off the bat. To be honest, I told him, I really want to try getting a job. A job? He sounded really surprised. It's 3 months of no school and you want a job? Believe me, I explained, I wouldn't do it unless I had a good reason to do so. What would that reason be? I really, really, really want a new car. What's wrong with the one you have? It's not that reliable anymore. I swear I can't go one day without it dying on me. Wow, that's a bummer. Tell me about it. I need a car that's newer and can actually survive a drive across the street. Well, do you have any idea where to get a job to get that money? Honestly, no. I haven't checked for any available jobs yet. Well, better start looking now. The beginning of summer is the best time for our job openings, especially for our high schooler. I guess you're right. I'll check the paper and see if I can find anything. I'll even bring it to you. Give me a second. Wow, Jacob's a very supportive older brother, isn't he? My big brother then left my room and went downstairs. I wasn't a fan of working in the summer, but it was the only way I could get the job. Mom and Dad refused to buy me one, and school is too busy to have a job at the same time. This was my only chance. Yeah, honestly, to be fair, I definitely had the very definition of a part-time job in high school, but yeah, I don't know how someone could pull off both. I mean, I just worked the weekends, so not that much money overall, but it was a job. Jacob came back to my room with holding a rolled-up newspaper. He handed it to me and smiled. Guess you better pray this will be worth it, he told me. Guess so, I replied with a chuckle. I then unrolled the paper and started reading the want ads. I actually saw quite a few job offers. There was a barber shop looking for a janitor, a family looking for a babysitter, even a store looking for a cashier. Despite the many jobs, none of them could pay me enough money to get a car by the time summer ended. There's nothing? Jacob asked. None that'll give me the money soon enough, I replied. Well, I'm sure there's a job available somewhere. Hopefully. Jacob, Jeremy, a familiar voice called from downstairs. Yeah, Mom? He both replied. Get ready, we have to go to Tommy's birthday party in an hour. Also, there's more videos about Roxy than anything else about security breach. She's about... Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me Roxy would be that popular. Like, Steel Wool and Scott, they knew what they were doing when they designed her. They knew. Get ready, we have to go to Tommy's birthday party in an hour. Ah, shit. I'd forgotten all about that. I still don't understand how my mom convinced us all to go to our cousin's birthday party. It's not like we knew anyone on that side of the family very well. Well, let's get ready, I suppose, Jacob told me. Where's this stupid party again? I asked. I think it was called Freddy Fazbear Pizza or something like that. Sounds about right. Well, let's get this over with. I honestly had no idea a simple birthday party would lead to a total nightmare that would haunt me forever. Ominous. Freddy Fazbear Pizza. Freddy Fazzy. This is something. Freddy Faz fuck. Freddy Fancy Pizza. Motherfucker. Freddy Faz fuck. Sex appeal makes the game popular like a Resident Evil. Funny you should mention that. I actually just saw a comic earlier. It was of Roxy jump scaring Jeremy. Then she looks down. Okay, I know I'm gonna describe this, but bear with me. Yeah, Roxy's jump scaring Gregory, and then Roxy looks down and sees Gregory's got like a massive boner. Then the final frame, she's just like sitting at a bar, like, and Lady D is next to her, like patting her back. that just cracked me up so much. Alright. Happy birthday, Tommy. We left home an hour later and began heading to the party. I really didn't want to go, but Mom threatened to ground me if I didn't. I'm almost 18 and I still have to take orders from her. Makes me want to graduate even more. We eventually pulled into a massive parking lot. I looked out the car window, and in giant red letters, there was the name Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, alongside a picture of a cartoon brown bear, blue rabbit, and yellow chicken. I think I actually remember those guys, to be honest, but I'm not sure where. We got out of the car and walked inside the restaurant. Immediately to our right was a giant stage with 3 animatronic characters on it. In front, singing a song on the microphone, was the bear on the building. To his right was the blue bunny playing a red electric guitar, and to his left was the chicken playing the keyboard. They all looked cheesy, but that's what you'd expect out of a place like this. Yeah, exactly. Lady D is just like, I know your pain. Yeah, her facial expression in the comic like captured that perfectly. Like, I know. To our left was what looked like a counter where you could exchange tickets for prizes. All the kids were lined up, all squealing with joy at the thought of getting prizes. They mainly seemed to be selling plush toys that looked like the characters. There was a giant purple present box in the corner. It looked closed, yet could open at any time. Oh. I should also mention that just yesterday I actually played FNAF 2 for the first time in a long time. So, gotta be honest, I wasn't really that scared. I was just more focused on the music box and everything else to really be scared. So I'd say that's FNAF 2's biggest flaw, but anyway. Still a good game, mind you. Just definitely not the scariest in my opinion. The rest of the room looked like a giant play area filled with arcade games and rides. There were kids riding a carousel, a few more playing a crane game, and even one getting a balloon from some creepy robotic kid holding a whole bunch of balloons. Children's laughter could be heard coming from its speaker. It sounded very disturbing. Oh, BB. Mom went to the front counter and said we were here for a birthday party for Tommy Fitzgerald. Ah, yes, the woman behind the counter said as she put in a book in front of her. That's in party room 1. Down the hall, take a left, second door on the right. Thanks, my dad told her. We then went down the hallway near the stage. At the end of the hall was a closed door that looked like it was only for employees. Restrooms could be seen on our right, and another hallway to our left, where we needed to go. Scott made a great franchise, though the community's toxic. Well, you're gonna get your toxic people in any community, but even then, I'd say, well, how's the saying go? Like, the toxic people are just the vocal minority. So, all the people who are sane, quote unquote, are just generally the ones who more or less keep to themselves. So, I've seen enough of the FNAF community where, and to be fair, a lot of them are younger. A lot of FNAF fans are younger. So, you're not exactly going to be the most mature when you're younger. So, I don't know. There's definitely some factors to be had there. Like, let's put it this way. When the whole Scott situation this summer happened, I'd say a majority of the people, like, were on Scott's side. And if people were really as toxic as other communities, they would not be standing up with him. So, the community is definitely a loyal one. Down that hallway were 2 doorways on either side. I could see party room and a number above each doorway. At the far end of the hallway, though, was what looked like some sort of office. In the office was a man with a dark blue baseball cap with the letters FFP in bright red. Scott situation? Yeah, I'm not going to go into that here. You could look that up if you want to, but basically, long story short, Scott was canceled this summer. Canceled, and then that's ultimately what led to his retirement. So, yeah, not going to go into further detail here, but that's more or less what happened. Was dark blue baseball cap with the letters FFP in bright red. He had long greasy black hair and an equally gross beard. He was looking at a screen of some sort sitting on a desk he was looking at a screen of some sort sitting on a desk he was sitting at. That could have been worded a little better. When he heard us approaching, he looked up at us to see what it was. His eyes were a pale blue that seemed non-human. I saw a name tag on his dark blue polo shirt. I didn't see his name, but I did see what looked like security underneath it. He then looked back at the screen as if we didn't exist. We then found Party Room 1 and saw a bunch of family members I never talked to sitting and standing and talking. Jeez. Is it just me or are these sentences just weird? When I found Party Room 1, I saw a bunch of family members I never talked to sitting and standing and talking. Yeah, I feel like I could have used a couple commas there instead of ands, but some of them looked at us, but others ignored our arrival. Patrick! We looked and saw a familiar man waving at our father. Nick, Dad replied. He then went over to him and hugged him. Been a while, little brother, Nick told him. Yeah, but you know how busy work gets, Dad replied. He then stepped aside to reveal the rest of us. Gloria, how have you been? Uncle Nick asked as he shook Mom's hand. Not too bad, Nick. How are things with May? Oh, she's still the woman I fell in love with 15 years ago. He then looked at me and Jacob. Oh, wow, he gasped. Patrick, you told me you had 2 little boys. Dad chuckled. That was years ago, Nick. They're all grown up now. I can see that. He then extended his hand to Jacob, who shook it. It's been a while. Jacob, was it? That's right, my brother replied. Man, how old are you now? 20. Oh my, it has been a while. They both then laughed. Uncle Nick then looked at me and shook my hand. Gosh, you've grown so much. Johnny? Jeremy, I corrected. Hey, I got the J and the E, Uncle Nick said with a smile. I awkwardly smiled back. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot that was our running gag later on, that nobody remembers Jeremy's name. I totally forgot I made that a joke. Gosh, this place hasn't changed a bit, Mom said as she looked around. You've been here before? I asked Mom. Of course, we used to take you boys here all the time when you were kids. Really? I didn't remember that. Yes, but Jacob was only around 6 years old when we stopped going. Why'd we stop? The place closed all of a sudden. I think it was something about a missing child or something. I heard it was 8. I heard it was... I was looking at 87, so that's why I said 8. I heard it was 4, Dad commented. Well, anyway, the place closed, but it just reopened a week ago. Oh, wow. Yes, popularity sure is boosting, Uncle Nick commented. That's why I made sure my little Tommy had his birthday party here. Speaking of which... He then turned towards one of the tables and saw a woman sitting next to a little boy. Oh my, Mom gasped. Tommy's grown so much. Yeah, that he was, Uncle Nick replied. My little man is 8 years old. Man, I'll imagine how I feel when he's Jacob or Jimmy's age. Jeremy. Oh, you know who I mean. He then signaled for us to walk towards Tommy and Aunt May, which we did. Totally not intentional, but the fact that she's called Aunt May is actually pretty funny. Again, that I swear that was not my intention. I just went with the name and stuck with it. Happy birthday, Tommy, Mom told the boy. What do you say to Aunt Gloria? May asked Tommy. Thank you, Tommy replied with a giant smile that was missing a few teeth. Let's party! We all quickly turned around and saw the yellow chicken from the stage in the doorway holding a pink 2-layered cake. How had she gotten there? She then began walking towards Tommy while singing, Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Tommy, happy birthday to you. Everyone clapped as she made it to the table to put the cake in front of the birthday boy. Make a wish, the robotic chicken told him. Okay, Chica, Tommy replied with a giant smile. Chica? That was her name? I guess that was fitting. I legitimately forget that Chica is actually a real word. Like, it's Spanish for girl. I'm so used to it being her name, I completely forget that it's actually a word now. Tommy then blew out all 8 of his candles and everyone applauded even more. Okay, Tommy, Chica told him. I have to get back to playing music with my friends now. Have a very happy birthday. Thank you, Tommy said with a giant grin. I've never seen a child smile so big. The robotic chicken then turned around and walked out of the room. I still don't think that thing is appropriate for little children, especially boys, I heard a man nearby say softly. Its only clothing are pink panties and a bib that just about covers its breasts. Oh, relax, Rob, the woman near him said. I'm sure he was too focused on the cake to pay attention to that. Which cake we talking about, lady? Uncle Nick then began cutting the cake and serving it to everyone. It looked like one layer was white cake and the other was chocolate. I grabbed a white slice. I'm not a fan of chocolate. I sat next to Jacob, who was sitting alone in a corner seat. He had chocolate cake. We are opposite in that aspect. You know what I don't get? He asked me. What? I asked as I took a bite of the cake. It was actually very delicious. How did that thing know Tommy's name? I'm sure she was programmed or something to know his name. It's a bit weird in my opinion. I think it's nice. This place is pretty family friendly, I'll give it that. I guess. Hey, what's that? He then pointed at the wall next to us. There was what looked like a poster on the wall. On top, in bold letters, were the words, Help Wanted. I think they're hiring, Jacob told me. You said you needed a job, right? Well, yeah. At least look at what they're offering. I don't know. You want that car, right? I then sighed, got up, and walked to the poster. On the poster were the 3 characters of the restaurant smiling at the reader. I then began to read. Help Wanted. Vintage pizzeria given new life. Come be a part of the new face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. What could go wrong? $100.50 a week. To apply, call 1-888-FAZ-FAZBEAR or come to the manager's office of our new location. I think Rob has seen fan art of Chica. Who hasn't at this point? What, willingly or not, who hasn't? I looked at the poster a few times. They didn't specify what they were offering, but I suppose maybe there were multiple available jobs, seeing as how the place is so new. I walked back over to Jacob and explained what the poster said. $100.50 a week? He asked. Is that enough money to get you the car? Well, not a new one, but it's the highest paying job I've seen so far. Well, go check it out. What do you have to lose? 156 comments. I suppose you're right. Oh yeah, I love this even better. What could go wrong? 217 comments. I suppose you're right. I then got up and stuck my way out to the party room. I just had to find the manager's office. I began wondering if this job would be worth it, provided I even get it. What could go wrong? Absolutely everything. Everything can and will go wrong. What could go wrong? Mike, who randomly appeared. Everything. Death, dismemberment, gunshot wounds. A lot. Anything and everything. WTF, getting killed is one. Anything can happen, like death. Yeah, what do I have to lose? Everything. Yeah, but right off the bat, I already like the pacing I set up with Grand Reopening. Whereas the first story, everything just started off right away with the character backstory, reading the interview, or reading the paper, stuff like that. This one, we kind of had a bit of... Because, yeah, in the first story, we didn't see Freddy Fazbear's until we went to apply for the job. Whereas this one, I kind of like how we kind of have got a customer perspective of how the place is supposed to be. I feel like it creates a bigger juxtaposition for when we're actually working the night shift and just seeing how creepy the place can be. Like, that, right off the bat, I like that aspect a lot. As soon as I walked out of party room 1, I looked around for any signs of the manager's office. I didn't remember seeing anything resembling a manager's office when we came in. "Can I help you?" a grisly voice asked. I turned towards the security office and saw the guard staring at me. "I'm looking for the manager's office," I replied. He just continued to stare at me. "Why? Do you have a complaint?" A corn cob was less yellow than his teeth. "No," I replied. "I'm trying to get a job here." His eyes widened. "You sure you want to do that?" he asked. "Yes." He then gave a small chuckle to himself. "Head back to the main area. There's a doorway between the prize counter and game area that'll lead you to Kid's Cove. Through there, you'll find the office." "Thanks," I replied. "Sure," he mumbled as he looked back at the screen. I then went down the hallway and into the main area again. Sure enough, there was a doorway labeled Kid's Cove above it. I went inside and found a bunch of toddlers running around the place. There were some drawing, some singing, and some tearing apart an animatronic. It looked like some sort of female fox with a white face, blush, and lipstick. But it was so mangled up it was hard to tell what it was. The little kids kept ripping it apart and putting its parts in different places, like a robotic Mr. Potato Head. I somewhat have a feeling what these are. Yeah, that's what I figured. Some of these comments were be like, no, me pointing out Mangle's gender. I hope Mangle is in Toy Story 4. Okay, so most of the comments are just me referring that Mangle was mangled. Because, if you dare so mention Mangle's gender, half the community that disagrees with you is going to be freaking out. This is why Scott's confirmed there are some things he won't confirm because it'll just cause a war, more or less. The specific example he brought up was, people are still having debate over, freaking out and stuff over something as simple as Mangle's gender. So I'm not going to do that to you guys. So thanks, community. Thanks. I then found a doorway on the left that read Management. This must be the place. I'm just now noticing how odd it is that the manager's office is right next to the children's play area. I guess that is kind of in line for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza now that I think about it, so... Because, yeah, the whole reason I put the manager's office there was just so Jeremy could experience Mangle beforehand. So... I walked up to it and knocked on the door. "Yes," I heard a male voice call from inside. I could barely hear it over the screams of toddlers. "Excuse me," I told him. "I'm here about a job offer." A few seconds passed before a man opened the door and stared at me. He looked like he was in his early 50s. "So you want to work here?" he replied. He asked. "Yes," I replied. He then gave a small nod and signaled for me to step inside. Once I was in, he had me sit in a chair in front of his desk. He then sat behind the desk and pulled out a pen and a piece of paper. "What's your name?" he asked. "Jeremy Fitzgerald," I replied. He then began writing on the paper. "Age? 17. More writing. Any previous working experience?" "Nope." He looked up at me. "None at all?" he asked. "Nope. No," I replied. He then began writing again. "Why do you want to work here at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza?" "I want to get some money for a car," I admitted. "This place seems like a fun place to work at." I that's like a kind of a mental thing right there. Like, you gave the real answer first, just realize that's not the right answer, so that you say the right answer. "Oh, this place looks fun to work at." He then gave a small smile. "It is," he replied. He then wrote again. "Well, Mr. Fitzgerald, we don't have many jobs available at the moment," he admitted. Our only available options as of now are janitors, mechanics, and security guards. Well, I hated cleaning as it is. Cleaning after kids would be a nightmare, and I knew nothing about mechanics, so that was out. What would a security guard do? I asked. Well, we're looking for someone to work the night shift, he explained. You'd work from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. every night. All it pretty much is watching the security feed and keeping an eye on things. So it's pretty simple? He paused before replying, yes, it's pretty simple. I thought about this for a second. None of this sounded difficult at all, and the paycheck would at least help a bit. Alright, I'll take the night shift. Good to hear, he replied with a grin. Can you start tonight at midnight? Of course. Well then, welcome to the new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, Mr. Fitzgerald. We then shook hands. It was official. I got my summer job. I really hoped it was as simple as the manager claimed it was. Again, I wish getting a job was this simple. Like, you go in for the interview and walk out with a job. Like, I wish it was that easy. I went back to the party room and told my parents about the job. They looked surprised, but I wasn't sure if it was because I got a job without them knowing or because I got a job in general. Anyway, Mom agreed to let me use her car for the nightly trips, seeing as how mine would never make it all the way over there. After that, we all just stayed at the pizzeria until the party ended. When it finally did end, we went home and I began drinking an insane amount of coffee. I needed to stay up all night if I was going to get this job right. Or you could just, take a nap. That would be more healthy for you. Yeah, can you tell I've never worked overnights at this point when I wrote this? When it finally did end, we went... Oh, yeah. Sue and I arrived at the pizzeria at 11:55 p.m. I didn't want to be late on my first night. So you show up 5 minutes early. I saw a light coming in from the main room up front. It looked like someone was inside. I walked up to the doors and went inside the building. Found the manager in the center of the room, sitting at a table. He looked up when he saw me. Good evening, Mr. Fitzgerald, he told me. Ready for your first night? As ready as I'll ever be, I suppose, I replied. He smiled. Let's head to your office then, shall we? He told me. He then walked down the hallway and I followed him. So you said you're taking this job to get a new car, eh? He asked as we walked. Yes, sir. Well, I'm afraid that may take some time as of now. We spent so much money on the new building and new animatronics, we hardly had enough money left over to pay the employees as much as they deserve. Oh, I guess that makes sense. But don't worry, once we start making a profit, your paycheck should hopefully increase. That's good to hear. I hope that didn't sound as rude as I thought it might have. When we then finally reached the office, it was the same one the other guard was in. I could see an open air vent on either side of the room. There were green buttons labeled light above each one. The desk in the room had empty wrappers and an electric fan that was currently running. Oh, excuse me. Then it looked like there was a dark screen at the desk as well. I sat at the seat behind the desk and saw posters all along the wall advertising the restaurant. All in all, it was a very cozy setup. Before I forget, he told me, you're going to need this. He then handed me a folded dark blue polo shirt with the same colored hat on top. It had the letters FFP written in red on it. It was the same outfit as the other security guard. There was also a flashlight there as well. And there's something else next to the desk there, he continued. I looked down and saw what looked like an animatronic head lying next to the desk. It looked completely hollow, as if it could be worn as a mask. What's this for? I asked. Don't worry, he replied. When your shift starts, you'll get a call from the assistant manager. He'll explain that and everything else you need to know. Oh, okay then. Well, I'll be heading out now. Have a safe night, Mr. Fitzgerald. Thanks? Thanks. Why do I get the feeling he's not telling me something? He then left the office. He nearly disappeared immediately into the dark hallway. I somehow felt a bit more nervous now. I then heard a chime above me. I looked and saw a digital clock in the top right corner of the room. A digital clock that read 12 a.m. My first shift had started. Hopefully nothing would happen. The last thing I need is someone breaking in. Ah, yes. In this headcanon, Phone Guy is the assistant universe. Assistant manager. In this universe, he is the assistant manager. There we go. Phone Guy. Alright, first night. I sat in the chair behind my desk. The only noise was coming from the fan. I had to admit, this was a pretty fancy office. Nice open space, plenty of overhead light, and free leftover soda sitting on the desk. On second thought, maybe that last one isn't that nice. I looked at one of the posters and saw the characters of the building. Their names were right under them. Apparently they were Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie the Bunny, and Chica the Chicken. Those names actually do sound a bit familiar. I then tapped on a button on the screen in front of me. The whole screen turned on and revealed the 3 animatronic characters on stage. It was so dark though that it was hard to see much other than their silhouettes. I then noticed a button in front of the screen labeled Light. I tapped it, and saw the whole screen grow brighter. I looked and saw all 3 characters lit up. This would be useful, I'm sure. Suddenly, a phone rang. I looked and saw it was coming from a phone I hadn't seen on the desk. After I got over the shock, I picked up the receiver and put it to my ear. Hello? I asked. Hello? Is this Jeremy Fitzgerald? It is. Then hello and welcome to your new summer job at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the man on the other end said. I'm here to talk you through some of the things you can expect to see during your first week here and help you get started down this new and exciting career path. Okay then. This must be the assistant manager, although I don't exactly plan for this to be my career. Now, I want you to forget anything you may have heard about the old location, he continued. Some people still have a somewhat negative impression of the company. That old restaurant was kind of left to rot for quite a while, but I want to reassure you that that Fazbear Entertainment is committed to family fun, and above all, safety. That's good to hear. Is he referring to the missing children Mom was talking about? Did that even happen? They spent a small fortune on these new animatronics. Facial recognition, advanced mobility, they even let them walk around during the day. Isn't that neat? Yeah, that's pretty cool, I guess. But most importantly, they're all tied into some sort of criminal database so that they can detect a predator a mile away. Heck, we should be paying them to guard you. I gave a small chuckle at that last line. And now that being said, no new system is without its kinks. That certainly got my attention. Kinks? I asked. What kind of kinks? Well, you're only the second guard to work at that location, he explained. The first guy finished his week, but complained about conditions. Conditions? We switched him over to the day shift, though, so hey, lucky you, right? Sorry for interrupting, I said, but what kind of conditions did he complain about? He mainly expressed concern that certain characters seemed to move around at night and even attempted to get into his office. What? Now, from what we know, that should be impossible. That restaurant should be the safest place on Earth. I would think so. So, while our engineers don't really have an explanation for this, the working theory is the robots were never given a proper night mode. What does that mean? Well, when it gets quiet, they think they're in the wrong room, so then they go to try to find where the people are, and in this case, that's your office. Why did I suddenly feel uneasy? So our temporary solution is this. There's a music box over by the prize counter, and it's rigged to be wound up remotely. So just every once in a while, switch over to the prize counter video feed and wind it up for a few seconds. I then looked at the screen and saw a layout of the building in the bottom right corner. It looked like I had to touch it to change screens, which was actually pretty cool. I tapped where I believed the prize counter was, and sure enough, there it was. On the screen, in the mid-bottom, was a giant rectangle that read, Wind Up Music Box, as well as a giant white circle above it. The circle started to slowly grow smaller, though, as if it was a clock. I tapped and held my finger on the rectangle, and the circle started growing big again. It doesn't seem to affect all the animatronics, he admitted, but it does affect one of them. He then cleared his throat a bit. It only affects one of them. I wonder which one. As for the rest of them, we have an easier solution. What's that? You see, there may be a minor glitch in the system. Something about the robot seeing you as an endoskeleton without its costume on and wanting you to stuff you into a suit or something like that. Wait, what? It's probably nothing, but our engineers claim it might be possible. So, we've given you an empty Freddy Fazbear head. Problem solved. You can put it on at any time and leave it on for as long as you want. Eventually, anything that wandered in will wander back out. I looked at the empty head by the desk. Would this thing really work? Would they even stuff me into a suit at all? Something else worth mentioning is the kind of modern design of the building. You may have noticed there are no doors for you to close. Yeah, I've noticed. I didn't want to say it, but the lack of doors made me feel less safe. But hey, you have a light, and even though your flashlight can run out of power, the building cannot. So don't worry about the place going dark. I guess that was good news. Was there ever a possibility of an entire building running out of power? Well, I think that's it. You should be golden, he continued. Check the lights, put on the Freddy head if you need to, keep the music box wound up, piece of cake. I hoped it was that simple. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay, thanks. Good night. He then hung up, and I did the same. When I did, I noticed how rapid my heart was beating. Why was I just now being informed of all this? I turned the camera on back to the show stage. All three characters were still there, staring blankly into the empty game area. I scoffed a bit with a smile. There's no way these guys will move, I thought to myself. They've been programmed with the best technology we have. Surely there's some sort of a night mode on there. And even if they move, there's no way they'll put me into a suit if they get in here. No way. I then took a look at my flashlight. I then glanced down at the pitch black hallway. Too many thens there. I then picked up the light, aimed at the hallway, and turned it on. The whole hallway lit up, revealing the entrance to the 4 party rooms and the doorway to the main hall. All empty, nobody inside. I turned the light off and placed it back on my desk. I then took a glance at the empty head by the desk. Just out of curiosity, I picked it up and put it on my head like a helmet. First off, it was really big for my head, so I couldn't see much out of the eye holes. I tried looking at the screen through them, but I just couldn't see it clearly. What's worse is the fact it was starting to get a bit hot in this thing. I took the mask off and took a deep breath of air. Thought I could feel sweat on my face. I put the mask back on the floor and wiped my forehead with my sleeve. I suddenly saw an orange triangle flash to the prize counter cam on the screen. I pulled up the feed and saw the music box was about to run out. I rewound it through the screen and turned back to the show stage feed. They were all still there. Good. I then looked at the clock. 12:15 a.m. I had a long 5 hours and 45 minutes ahead of me. Fortunately, I prepared for this. Pulled out my pocket Sudoku book and a pencil and began working on a random puzzle. Let's see. Did 9 go in this box or this one? Soon the orange triangle flashed again. I went back to the prize counter and rewound it. I don't know why I kept winding it, but it might have just been because I was scared to find out what would happen if I didn't. Just out of curiosity, I pressed the light button. Sure enough, the whole room lit up, revealing the purple gift box I had seen earlier. I wonder what was inside that thing. I switched back to the show stage. All 3 still accounted for. I smiled and went back to my Sudoku. It was literally just that for the longest time. Solve a puzzle, wind the music box, check the stage, repeat. It was just that until 3:30 a.m. That's when I checked the show stage and noticed something. There was a chubby brown bear, a feminine yellow chicken, but not a goofy blue bunny. Where's Bonnie? I put my book down on my desk and flipped through the cameras, turning on the lights as I did. He wasn't in the main hall or the game area, although I did see that creepy balloon kid. I finally went to party room 3 and found him in the room holding his guitar. He wasn't moving or anything, he was just standing there. I asked myself how he could have possibly gotten there. Then a thought hit me. The guy on the phone said they had advanced mobility. Could that affect how fast they move? Well, party room 3 was still a bit away from my office. As long as he stayed there, I'd be fine. I went back to the show stage feed. Freddy and Chica were still there. At least there was that spark of optimism. I wound up the music box and flipped back to party room 3. Bonnie was still standing there, though I could swear he moved towards the exit a bit. I started to flip through all the cameras just to see what all was there. The only other rooms were the remaining party rooms, all empty. Kids Cove, the only thing there was that mangled robot. I could have sworn I heard radio static coming from it. The air vents on either side of me. Why would there be cameras in the vents? And the parts and services closet. The closet was completely dark, but I shone the light and was quite shocked to what I saw. Sitting in the closet were 3 animatronics, but they all looked broken and beyond repair. There was a purple bunny with a missing face and left arm, a yellow chicken duck thing with a busted jaw and missing hands, and a brown bear with ripped fabric and a missing eye. My best guess was that these robots were older versions of the ones I'm guarding, but it's like they were just left to rot. I suddenly heard movement in the hallway in front of me. I pulled out my flashlight, lit up the hallway. I gasped a little when I did. Standing in the hallway holding a pink cupcake was Chica, but something didn't look right. She was missing her orange beak and purple eyes. I turned the light off and breathed slowly. There was nothing to worry about, not even the possibility that they might kill me. On second thought, I then heard what sounded like metal thumping. kind of like someone was in the air vents. I pulled up the left air vent feed and turned the light on. Nothing there. I then pulled up the right air vent feed and turned the light on. Instead of nothing, like I hoped there would be, it was a blue bunny on his hands and knees. The assistant manager said if I wore the Freddy head, anything that wandered in would wander back out again. I prayed to God he was right. I turned the hall light back on again. Chica was still there. She was staring creepily at me, but hey, she was there. The orange triangle lit up again. I quickly wound up the music box and looked back in the hallway. Oh crap, she was gone. Before I could check to see where she was, I heard even louder clanking noise. It was definitely coming from my right. I reached for the light above the right vent and pressed down. When I did, I was greeted by a blue bunny with big green eyes looking at me. I pulled my hand back, gave a small scream, and grabbed the Freddy head. It was stupid, I know, but it was better to be safe than sorry. I put the empty head on and held my breath. Was it gone? Did it go in my room at all? I could then see the lights flicker a little bit. They then went dark completely. I froze. Phone guy said the power wouldn't go out. The lights then went back on and I saw Bonnie in the room, staring at me. Did his irises and pupils get smaller? The lights flickered and turned off again. They then slowly turned back on and he was gone. I took the head off and took a deep but quiet breath. I can't believe that actually worked. Would that really work for all of them? I then gasped, Chica! I pulled up the camera and tried looking for her. I finally found her in party room 1, bent down in front of an open vent, as if she was about to... shit. That absolutely could have been worded differently. Oh shit. Chica, think about the kids. Damn it, Chica, there's a bathroom for a reason. Oh wow, what a nice place to take a dump. But you gotta go to the bathroom. Yeah, I absolutely could have worded that so much better. Yeah, that was just unfortunate. That was just unfortunate. Unfortunate reading. My goodness. I put the camera away and, for the heck of it, looked down the hallway again. I was expecting Bonnie to be there, or maybe even nothing at all, but standing in the hall was Freddy Fazbear in the shining flesh. He looked like he was at the far end of the hall, so I think I was safe, for now. I heard clanking metal again. I looked at the screen and saw the left air vent feed. Sure enough, Chica was in the vent, staring at the camera. I quickly went back to the music box and wound it up. I was proud of myself for keeping up on this thing. I hoped I'd never know why I had to do this. I turned on my light again in the hallway. Freddy was still there, but he was even closer. I really needed to keep my eye on him. The clanking to my left got closer. I turned on the light in the vent, and there was a yellow chicken in there. I put the mask on and waited. I was expecting the lights to flicker again. However, there was just clanking again. I snuck the mask off a bit and looked down the vent. I could see orange feet go down it. I exhaled a bit with relief. I took it off completely and wiped my face again. I was really getting nervous. I then gasped when I saw the orange triangle. I quickly rewound the box and looked away from the screen. When I did, I saw a chubby brown bear standing in my room. He was staring at me with black, soulless eyes. I quickly put on my mask and waited. The lights then flickered and turned off again. I held all the breath I could manage to hold. They then turned back on and he was gone. I took it off and the office was completely empty. I found myself breathing really hard. I looked at the clock. 5:41 a.m. How did time go that fast? Well, I guess it was actually good for me. I looked at the cameras and saw Chica in the main hall, Bonnie in the party room 4, and Freddy in the game area. I kept a close eye on him. I didn't seem to be having any more problems. I just watched them and kept winding up the music box every now and then, and I had no troubles. Suddenly, after what seemed like a year, I heard noise coming above me. Jeez. I looked at the clock and it was 6 a.m. I sighed with relief. It was over. My first night was over. I looked at the cameras and saw all 3 animatronics go back towards the main area. They then climbed back into the stage onto the stage and froze. I sighed with relief. The manager is definitely going to hear some harsh words from me. I heard the front door open a few minutes later. I then left the office and went to the main area, where I found the manager walking in the building. "Good morning, Mr. Fitzgerald," he told me. "How was your first night?" "Oh, not too bad," I said sarcastically. "Nobody broke in, it was generally quiet, and oh yeah, the robots walked off the stage and got into the office." He stared at me with total shock. "Didn't the assistant manager tell you there was a possibility of that?" he asked. "Yes, he did," I replied, but I would have preferred to first hear it from you." "Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Fitzgerald. I apologize for not saying something that would have stopped you from taking the job." I froze, and then sighed. He had a good point. "Yes, they move," he continued as he glanced at the animatronics. "But we're 90% sure that if they got to your office, they'd cause you no harm. 90% isn't 100%. That's why we give you the empty head. Didn't the assistant—" "Yes, he told me," I blurted out. He then sighed. "Look, Mr. Fitzgerald, just do your job. If it's done right, there should be no problems for you or anyone. Clear?" It was my time to sigh. "Clear," I replied. "Good. I'll see you tonight then." "Fine." Then walked out of the restaurant. Sorry. I then walked out of the restaurant and groaned as I got into my mom's car. I began asking myself if I was really at risk here. Sure, they moved and there was a chance of death, but it was only 3 of them, right? 235 comments. 1020 intensifies. Mwahahaha. 9. Oh, jeez. Second night. I wonder, is this... Before I left for work that night, I made sure to say bye to everyone in the house. I didn't want to tell them this because there's a chance I might not make it home tonight. You might call me stupid for going back to that job. It's not like I signed some sort of contract forcing me to stay employed there. Ha ha ha, I get that reference. Truth is, though, I needed the money for the car. If that meant I had to go through hell to do it, I'd do it. Something interesting happened before I left, though. Mom showed me some pictures from Tommy's party that were taken before we got there. In the background of one, there was the prize counter. It seemed normal, except the purple present box was open. And in the box, well, it looked like some sort of skinny, smiley clown. It seemed to be giving a child something. "What's that?" asked my mom as I pointed at it. "I think Aunt May said it was called the prize puppet or something like that," she replied. "If a child gets enough tickets, they can give it to the cashier, and they'll activate the puppet who will give them a random super prize, which is basically a bigger plush toy than the normal ones." Now that you mention it, the puppet did look like he was holding a giant Bonnie toy, but the puppet was so creepy looking that I'm surprised a kid would want to receive a toy from that thing. Anyway, I arrived at work at the same time as yesterday. The manager was in the main room, staring at the animatronics. It's like he was expecting them to start moving right in front of him. When I went through the door, he looked at me and gave a small nod. "I assume you can guide yourself back to the office?" he asked. I nodded in response. "Then have a nice night, Mr. Fitzgerald." He got up from his seat and left the building. What was that about? Without thinking about it too much, I went into my office. The only light in the building was coming from the office lights. I sped walked the whole way down in fear. I then sat in the chair and exhaled. Sighed. "It's gonna be fine, Jeremy," I told myself. "Everything is under control." Soon the overhead clock chimed, signaling the start of my shift. I took a deep breath. Here goes nothing. The phone then rang again. I was expecting it, but it still startled me. I answered it and spoke. "Hello?" Hello. It was the phone guy, as expected. "See, I told you your first night wouldn't be a problem. You're a natural." I was so tempted to scream at him about how it was a problem, but I saw no point in arguing with him. "Thanks. By now, I'm sure you've noticed the older models sitting in the back room." "Yeah, I have, actually." I pulled up the feet of the parts and services closet and shone the light, revealing all 3 busted robots. "Those are from the previous location, but we just use them for parts now." I suppose that makes sense. The idea at first was to repair them. They even started retrofitting them with some of the newer technology, but they were just so ugly, you know? And the smell. Guess they did look a little weird compared to the newer ones. So the company decided to go in a whole new direction and make them super kid-friendly. I guess that was for the best, right? I then heard him chuckle a little bit. On the other end, "Those older ones shouldn't be able to walk around," he continued. "But if they do, the whole Freddy head trick should work on them too, so whatever." Well, the good news is the mask would work. The bad news was 3 more of those things could move around. I love those old characters. Did you ever see Foxy the Pirate? I paused. That name did ring a bell. Before I could reply, he started talking again. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, yeah, Foxy. Hey, listen, that one was always a bit twitchy. I'm not sure the Freddy head trick will work on Foxy. Well, that was exactly what I wanted to hear right now. Well, what do I do about him? I asked. Well, if for some reason he activates in the night and you see him standing at the far end of the hall, just flash your light at him from time to time. Will that really work? Of course. Those older models would always get disoriented with bright lights. It would cause a system restart or something. Huh, that was interesting. Come to think of it, you might want to try that on any room where something undesirable might be. Might hold them in place for a few seconds. That glitch might be in some of the newer models too. What do you know? This guy can actually be useful after all. Oh, one more thing. Don't forget the music box. I wasn't planning to. But it was actually a good thing you mentioned it. I pulled up the price feed counter and wound up the music box. I'll be honest, I never liked that puppet thing. It was always thinking, and it can go anywhere. I don't think a Freddy mask will fool it, so don't forget the music box. Wait, that puppet thing? Does he mean the prize puppet? What did he mean when he said it was always thinking? I hope I'll never know. Anyway, I'm sure it won't be a problem, he concluded. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay, good night. We both then hung up. I then began silently counting myself. There were 3 new animatronics, 4 older ones, and possibly a puppet. That was 8 animatronics. Am I going to survive this night? I then looked at the main stage. Yeah, to this day, I don't know what happened, but Wattpad or something deleted the entire second half of this chapter. I have no idea what happened. I wrote it. I wrote the rest of the chapter and published it, and there were comments and everything on it. But then one day, it was gone. It was weird. It was so weird. I have absolutely no idea of what happened there. But as you can guess, the withers start moving. Yeah, the withers start moving and he survives. I think in that chapter is when BB starts moving too. Could be wrong. Oh, the door's open. Hi. Let something open the door. I'm hoping it's one of my kitties. Okay. Alright. Brotherly advice. Hey, Jacob? I asked as I peeked my head in the living room. Turned away from the TV and looked at me. Yeah? He asked. Can I talk to you about something? Well, sure, go ahead. I sighed. I was doing so good. I sighed and sat next to him on the couch. Look, it's just, this job is getting to me, I explained. Jeremy, it's only been 2 nights. I know, but you'd never believe what the job is really like. How hard can it be? Don't you just sit in a room and watch the buildings with security cameras every once in a while? Well, I thought that's all it would be. What do you mean? What else is there to do? I have to wind up a music box constantly. Why the hell do you need to do that? And to be honest, I'm not even 100% sure. What's so hard about that? Because I need to protect myself. From what? I deeply sighed. Promise me you won't laugh or call me crazy? Of course. I have to protect myself from the animatronics. He didn't stare at me deeply. I don't even think he blinked for a while. He then finally put his hand on my shoulder and sighed. Look, man, I know jobs can be stressful, but you don't believe me, do you? He stared again and sighed. Well, why do you need to protect yourself from the animatronics? He finally asked. Well, the assistant manager told me they might be glitchy and think I'm a metal endoskeleton or something and stuff me in a suit. I could tell he was trying to hide a smile. I'm sorry, he said, but do you know how crazy that in itself sounds? I groaned and sat up. This wasn't helping me at all. Jeremy, wait, my brother quickly said. I'm sorry, okay? I turned around and looked back at him. He wasn't smiling now. Is there anyone at work who can help you? He asked. Another employee or something? I paused and thought. I only knew of one other employee that would know how to handle this job. I guess there is, I replied. He used to work the night shift before me. Well, go talk to him about what to do. I guess it's better than nothing. Want me to tell Mom and Dad what's going on? No, the last thing I need is them worried about me. Well, good luck then. Thanks. I then left the house and got in Mom's car. The place closed in 30 minutes. Hopefully that'll be enough time to get there and get advice. I pulled in the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza at 8:45 p.m. The place would close in 15 minutes, so I had to hurry. I went inside and found a good majority of children watching the three characters playing a song on stage. How do kids love this stuff? Hello, Jeremy. I looked and saw a familiar girl standing behind the counter. Courtney? I asked with a gasp. What are you doing here? What's it look like? She replied as she pointed to the dark blue hat and shirt she was sporting. I'm working. You work here too? I asked with a shocked face. Wait, too? She asked. You work here too? Yeah, I replied. I work the night shift. Ooh, spooky. I gave a small chuckle as I replied, you have no idea. Well, so what are you doing here? Oh, I need to talk to the day guard shift. It's important. Ugh, that guy scares me. I swear he's a pedo or something. I don't know how he has a job here. Courtney. Well, it's not like they do background checks, I pointed out. But I'm not quick to judge others by their appearance. Well, I'm not you, she simply replied. So, can I go talk to him? I suppose, but only because you're an employee and not because you're my boyfriend's little brother. Thank you. She then let me inside and I snuck past the children watching the stage. When I made it into the hallway, I went to the end of it and saw the daytime guard staring at the screen. I could hear the noise from the stage coming through the screen. I knocked on the doorway and he jumped out of his seat a bit. He then looked at me with those soulless eyes. What do you want? He snarled at me. I need to ask you about something, I calmly replied. Well, make it quick, he replied as I looked back at the screen. Look, you worked the night shift before me, right? He then looked at me with wide eyes. You are working the night shift? He asked with a shaky voice. Yes, I need advice. Kid, my only advice is to quit. But I can't do that. I need the money. Oh, go get another one somewhere else. That'll take too long. I just need advice on how the animatronics operate. He then sighed and leaned his head against his arm. Okay, he replied. Who all has moved so far? The three on stage, that messed up robot in Kids Cove, the balloon boy, and Foxy, I think his name was. That's not even all of them, my poor friend. Who else is there? You know those old models in the back? The broken ones that are used for parts? Yeah, well, they're not as broken as you think. They're partially rebuilt with some technology of the newer models. Yeah, the assistant manager told me that. Well, since they're like their newer brethren in a sense, they can also move around and get into the office. And they haven't done that yet. Well, if they don't move tonight, I'll be surprised. Jeez. But the mask should help with that, right? Yeah, it will. But those older models seem a little smarter than the newer ones. They'll get into the office before you see them in the vents. So then I put the mask on when they get in? Yeah, but you need to be quicker than the goddamn Flash. As soon as you see them in your office, that mask has to be on immediately. Or else what? He then gave a small laugh. Or else they won't be fooled. I then gulped. Anything else I should know about? Yeah, make sure that asshole BB doesn't get in the office. Who? Balloon Boy. That creepy kid with the balloons in the game area. If he gets in your office, consider yourself dead. Why? I don't know how, but if he gets in your office, he won't kill you. But he does the next worst thing. He stops your lights from working. What? And he makes that loud, creepy laugh over and over and over and over. But how do you know this? Because he got in my office one night at 5:55. Think I'm only alive right now because the clock rang 6. Oh, God. And one more thing, he said. Whatever happens, do not forget the music box. What is the deal with that damn box? It's the only thing that keeps the prize puppet calm. What's that supposed to mean? Look, just keep it wound for your own safety. Alright. Well, I think that's everything you need to know. He then looked back at the screen. Thanks. Sure, whatever. I then sighed and left the office. What was this guy's problem? I then went back to the main area, where the animatronics seemed to be bowing to the kids, who started cheering. Good night, kiddies, Freddy told the audience in a goofy southern accent. I gotta laugh how I totally predicted that Toy Freddy actually does have a goofy southern accent. I guess it's because it just seems the most fitting, but yeah, Ultimate Custom Night gave Toy Freddy that southern drawl. If I get jump scared, you get jump scared. Good night, kiddies. We'll be sure to see y'all tomorrow for another fabulous day of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The kids all cheered as the stage curtains closed and the room got brighter. Okay, everyone, the manager said over the intercom. The building will close in 5 minutes. We hope to see you all again tomorrow for another magical day. I groaned silently. I hope to see anything tomorrow. Provided I don't meet my death. Hello? There we go. Third night. I left just as the place was closing. There was no point in staying here for 3 hours if I didn't need to. I took a short nap when I got home. If there was ever time to have a lot of energy, it was tonight. I arrived back at the restaurant at my usual time. Again, the manager was in the front area. Well, this time he was looking at something on the table. It looked like a picture of some sort. When I entered, he looked up at me as he stuffed the item in his coat pocket. He then gave a quick nod and stood up and walked out of the building. Bit weird, in my opinion. I quickly got into my office and tried to relax myself. The day guard told me everything I needed to know. As long as I listened to him, I'd be alright. I'd be fine. When the clock chimed midnight, though, I felt my heart beating faster again. Was I gonna make it tonight, despite everything I knew about these guys? The phone rang again, which was to be expected at this point. I took a deep breath and picked up the receiver. Hello? Hello? See, I told you wouldn't have any problems. Did this guy even know what this job was like? Did Foxy ever appear in the hallway? Before I could answer, he replied, Probably not. I was just curious. Pretty sure there was a reason he continued talking so quickly. Like I said, he was always my favorite. They tried to remake Foxy, you know? Oh, really? Yeah, they thought the first one was too scary, he explained. So they redesigned him to be more kid-friendly and put him in Kids Cove. To keep the toddlers entertained, you know? Of course. But kids these days just can't keep their hands to themselves. The staff literally has to put Foxy back together after every shift. Oh my. So eventually they stopped trying and left him as some take-apart and put-back-together attraction. Now he's just a mess of parts. Yeah, I think I've seen who you're talking about. Yeah, I think the employees refer to him as just the Mangle. That was actually a very fitting name. Oh, hey, before I go, I wanted to ease your mind about any rumors you might have heard lately. Rumors? I certainly haven't heard anything. Yeah, you know how these local stories come and go and seldom mean anything, he explained. I can personally assure you that whatever is going on out there, and however tragic it may be, has nothing to do with our establishment. It's all just rumor and speculation, people trying to make a buck, you know? What was this guy talking about? Was someone saying things about the business? Our guard during the day has reported nothing unusual, and he's on watch from opening till close. Well, I guess that's good to hear. That's only assuming he's doing his job correctly. Okay, well, anyway, hang in there, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay, thanks. Talk to you tomorrow. We both then hung up. Admittedly, I didn't really care about all that sentimental stuff about Foxy that he was going on about. I just enjoyed hearing someone's voice to keep me somewhat calm. The part about rumors got me confused, though. What were people saying about this place? It seemed perfectly fine, save for the killer robot characters, of course. I didn't think too much on it. Geez, I probably should have drank a pop or something before I was doing this. I didn't think too much of it. I opened the camera screen and saw 3 characters on stage. That was always a good sign. I didn't think too much of it. I then went to the price counter feed and wound up the music box. I began to think that this music box was somehow linked to the prize puppet, mostly on its location and the phone guy's mentioning of it. I didn't know what would happen. What I didn't know was what would happen if I didn't keep it wound. While I was waiting for the characters on stage to inevitably move, I decided to check the other rooms in the place just to be safe. All the party rooms were empty, as well as the main hallway. BB was still in the game area. BB was in the game area, and I found that busted Foxy remake in Kids Cove. The Mangle, I think he said it was called. I suddenly remembered something important. I looked from the screen and flashed my light down the hallway. I sighed with heavy relief when I saw it was empty. Excuse me. Thank God Foxy wasn't there, or I might have been a goner. I then kept looking at the cameras. The 3 characters on the stage were still, well, on stage. I kept flipping through and found myself at the parts services closet. When I turned on the light, I could see the older models still sitting there, completely broken and lifeless. It's kind of sad to see them in this broken state, but it was mainly just creepy. Heck, the newer models looked like shiny toys compared to these guys. I then chuckled to myself a bit. I should just call the new ones Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, and Toy Chica. It sounded kind of comical. I then stopped for a second. Something didn't seem right. There was a broken Chica and an eyeless Freddy, but I could have sworn there was a faceless Bonnie, but I couldn't see him on the screen. I flipped to the cameras to try and find him. It didn't take long. I got to the main hall and feed and turned on the light. Standing in the parts services doorway was the broken purple bunny. I then tried to calm myself. The day guy said that the older models would move tonight, so I can't say I didn't see this coming. Besides, the phone guy said the Freddy head truck would work on them as well. I wound up the music box again and looked down the hallway. Standing there was the familiar red pirate fox named Foxy. I flicked my flashlight at him and looked back at the screen. Old Bonnie. Yeah, that's another thing I would change, is I called the Wizards old instead of withered, because I'm pretty sure at the time, like, withered wasn't an established name, so. Not the biggest of deals, but it's just a little weird seeing it now. Old Bonnie was still in the hallway, and the other animatronics were all in their proper place. That was certainly a first. What seemed like 15 minutes passed before I noticed a change. The old Chica was missing as well. I quickly flashed my light down the hallway and my heart dropped. I could see Foxy and Old Bonnie in the hallway. I could see the bunny's face, or a lack of one, clearly now, and I admit I found it disturbing. There were a bunch of gray wires and a metal mouth, but there were 2 tiny red lights where the eyes should be. It was like something out of the Terminator. I then wound up the music box again and began looking for old Chica. After flipping through a bit, I checked Party Room 2 and found her staring blankly at the camera. Her arms were extended out at her sides as wires poked out where her hands should have been. The broken jaw and missing eyebrows just made it look absolutely terrifying. And truth be told, she didn't look like a chicken. She looked more like some kind of duck. I then checked the hallway again and saw it empty. That was good, right? I wound up the music box and started looking down around the cameras to find everyone. Old Chica was still in Party Room 2, Old Freddy was still in the Parts Service Closet, and the toy animatronics were still on stage. Mangle was still in Kid's Cove, and BB... Wait, where was he? Hello? Oh, great, he's on the move. Well, as long as he doesn't get in the office, I'll be perfectly fine. I then heard metal thumping to my right. I pulled up my screen for the right air vent, and I gasped. Old Chica was there. I flashed my light to keep her in place for a few seconds and wound up the music box. I then flipped through all the cameras and saw Old Bonnie at Party Room 1, right by the vent. This was just wonderful. I then pulled my screen down and looked towards the hallway. Instead of a dark hallway, however, I saw a white bib that read, "Let's eat." I looked up and saw a yellow chicken duck thing with a broken jaw staring at me. I quickly grabbed my Freddy head and put it on my head. Through the tiny eye holes, I could see the lights flicker a bit before turning completely off. Did I get the mask on fast enough? The lights slowly came back on and revealed the room to be empty. I took the mask off, checked both air vent lights, and wound up the music box. This was certainly getting stressful. There was so much to do and look at after in such a short span of time. I was doing good so far, but all it took was one small slip-up. Hi! Hey, that sounded really close. I looked in the left air vent and was expecting to see BB. Instead, I was greeted by a faceless purple bunny. The exposed wires in the head looked unimaginably disturbing. Wait, if BB isn't in the vent cam, then... Oh shit! I lowered the screen and turned the light above the left vent on. Sure enough, there was the face of a creepy robotic kid staring at me in the vent. I put the mask on and held my breath. A few seconds later, I heard the metal thumping go away. I took the mask off, checked the vent, saw it was empty, and looked back at the screen. Old Bonnie was still in the left air vent, and hopefully that's where he'll stay for a while. I wound up the music box and shone my light in the hallway. I nearly had a heart attack when I did. Right in the doorway was a tattered brown robotic bear with a creepy smile on his face. Well, hello, old Freddy. I heard thumping from the right as well as some loud static noise. Confused, I looked in the right vent and was greeted by the mangled mess of parts known as, well, the mangle. I put the mask on and waited. I heard the static quickly get softer until it was non-existent. I took the mask off and looked down the hallway. Old Freddy was still there. I suppose that was good. At least I knew where he was. I quickly wound up the music box and looked away from the screen. In front of me was a torn purple fabric with metal wires and parts. I put the mask on and tried to calm myself down as the lights flickered and turned off again. When they came back on, old Bonnie was gone too. I took the mask off and shone my flashlight in the hallway. I was surprised to see Foxy at the far end instead of old Freddy in the front, but I was just glad he was gone. I looked at the screen and was very surprised to see new models still on stage. I mean, I'm not complaining, it was just still very strange. The rest of the shift was actually went surprisingly well. The newer models never left the stage, BB and Mangle were preventing me from going in the room, and I got a mask on fast enough when old Bonnie and Chica got in. It was very stressful, but I managed to get the hang of it all. Finally, the clock rang 6 a.m. and I let out a giant sigh of relief. I knew this wasn't the best job in the world, but it was getting easier. It was just as long as nothing unexpected happens. Ooh, boy. All right. There was one other employee I knew at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that might know about anything that happened there. And just my luck, she was in my house when I woke up this afternoon. I went to the kitchen for something to eat when I saw a familiar red-headed girl eating some spaghetti from her fridge. "Oh, hey, Jeremy," Courtney said with a smile as she swallowed her bite of pasta. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "Don't you have to work?" "Not till later," she replied. "I'm here because my roommate is just being a total bitch. I needed to get away from her." "Oh, I got you." "Still here?" Yeah, didn't doubt that you were gone, Slender. No need, no worries." Yes, yeah, you don't feel like you gotta comment if you don't got anything to add. Just, that's cool. That's cool. I then went to the fridge and took out some leftover pork chops. It's amazing to me how many leftovers we have in our house. "Hey, can I ask you something?" I then said to her. "You just did," she replied with a smile. I smiled back and put the pork chops in the microwave. But seriously, she continued, "Go right ahead." I typed 30 seconds in the microwave and pressed start. "Have you heard anything unusual about Freddy Fazbear's Pizza?" I asked. "Like what?" she asked after taking a sip of milk. "I don't know. Something just doesn't seem right about the place." Well, the girl who works the counter the shift before mine did say something about the manager. "Like what?" "I'm not sure how true it is, but apparently he has a criminal record." "What?" "Yeah, apparently did some time in prison for physically abusing his children when they were like 10. They let him manage a children's restaurant? Again, just a rumor." Microwave beeped. I opened it up and felt the chops. Still a bit cold. I closed the door and added 30 more seconds. "I also did something freaky about that freaky security guard who works the day shift," Courtney continued. "Like what?" "Again, just a rumor, but apparently he works security for the old restaurant as well." "Really?" "Yeah, he apparently worked the night shift. He claimed it was a dangerous job over there, too. I don't understand why he finds being a night guard dangerous." "Yeah, that's strange," I replied with a nervous chuckle. Anyway, he eventually quit when the old location was closed, but got the job back when this new location opened up. I wonder why he'd come back. No idea. The microwave beeped again. I opened the door and felt the chops. Perfect temperature. Took them out, grabbed a fork, and sat next to Courtney. "I still wouldn't trust him around children, though," he continued. "He just looks like a freak. I bet when he watches the cameras, he's just staring at the kids, wishing he could be alone with them." "I'll admit he's a strange one," I admitted. "But looks can be deceiving." I suppose." She then looked at her watch. "Well, better head out." She then said as she wiped her mouth on a napkin. "Tell your brother I said hi." "Will do." She then put her plate in the sink and ran out the door. As I ate my pork chops, I began to think about what we just talked about. Was any of it true? Well, that's the thing about rumors. You never know. Yeah, I guess if there's one other thing I would change is I would introduce Courtney earlier in the story. Like the first time we see her is when she's working the prize counter, and to an extent, I kind of like the build up to reveal that she's Jacob's girlfriend. But I don't know. I feel like a mention earlier in the story would have been a lot better. When it was time to leave, I went to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. When I pulled in the parking lot, though, something interesting happened. I got to the front door and reached for the handle. Before I could grab it, the door opened on its own. I looked and saw a man in blue uniform standing in the doorway. The gold badge on his chest told me what he was. "Good evening, son," the cop told me as he tipped his hat to me. "Hello, officer," I replied. "Do you work here?" "Yes, sir." I then put on my shirt and hat, and the cop gave a short nod. "Very well, then," he told me. "Have a nice night." "You too." "You too, sir." The officer then went into the parking lot. I was extremely confused, but I didn't let it get to me. I went inside and saw the manager putting on a purple coat. He looked at me when I entered. 178 comments. "Hello, purple guy." Purple guy, purple guy, purple guy, purple guy. Very obvious manager's purple guy. And yes, that was my intention. It wasn't as, I wasn't intending for this to be as subtle as, the children's pleaser reveal, but yeah, that was my reveal that, this is who he's supposed to be. But again, we only had the second game to go on at the time. This was long before the name William Afton existed, so. "Hello, Mr. Fitzgerald," he told me. "Why was there a cop here?" I asked. "It's no big deal," he replied. "Just a misunderstanding." "What do you mean?" "Oh, apparently Freddy over there," he explained as he pointed to Toy Freddy, "scanned my face and thought I was a predator, which I am not. He then sent a distress call to the police, and that officer showed up." "Wonder why that would happen." "Well, must be a glitch in the system. We've been having a lot of those lately." "I've noticed." "Well, at any rate, I have to get going. Have a nice night, Mr. Fitzgerald." "You too." I'm just laughing because in hindsight, I'm thinking of what was it, Squimpus, whatever the name was, the VHS tapes that they made. Yeah, the facial recognition one, where when they were testing Toy Bonnie with innocent person and predator, innocent person testing different reactions, but then when William Afton's photo got in there, and then Bonnie just straight up attacked it. But that's the only thing going through my mind right now after seeing that interaction. He then left the building, and I slowly looked at the animatronics on stage. I then thought about what Courtney told me, that the manager possibly had a criminal record. She claimed it was just a rumor, but sometimes they can be true. Anyway, I went to the security office and got myself ready for my fourth night at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. So far, 9 animatronics have been a threat, with the prize puppet being a minor one, as long as I keep the music box wound up. The clock rang 12, and I prepared myself for anything that could happen tonight, whatever that may be. The phone on my desk rang, and I instantly picked it up. "Hello? Hello? Hey there. Night 4. Told you'd get the hang of it." Guess he was right about that. I felt confident in my ability to handle the job. "Okay, so just to update you, there's been somewhat of an investigation going on," he continued. "We may end up having to close for a few days. I don't know." "What?" I asked in shock. "Was this about the manager and the officer that was just here?" I want to emphasize, though, that this is really just a precaution. Fazbear Entertainment denies any wrongdoing. These things happen sometimes. It'll all get sorted out in a few days. Just keep an eye on things, and I'll keep you posted." "Alright, I guess I can do that." Just as a side note, though, try to avoid eye contact with any of the animatronics tonight if you can." "Can I ask why?" We think someone may have tampered with their facial recognition systems. We're not sure." I thought about the manager, about how Freddy mistook him for a predator. Could that be a connection to this? But the characters have been acting very unusual, almost aggressive towards the staff. How so? Well, they interact with the kids just fine, but when they encounter an adult, they just stare. My heart started pumping faster. Why would someone tamper with the facial recognition systems? And why would they act strange around the employees? Anyways, hang tight. It'll all pass, he concluded. "Good night." Alright, good night. I then hung up and thought about what he just said. Would we really have to end up shutting down for a few days? And for what? It couldn't possibly be because of a misunderstanding with the manager, right? Unfortunately, I had no time to think about it. I had a job to do. I pulled up the screen and saw the toys still on stage. Thank God for that. I then went to the prize counter and wound up the music box. After that, I checked the parts and services closet and spotted 3 dismantled robots. So far, so good. I then looked away from the screen and showed my flashlight down the hall. I was greeted by the glowing eyes of a red fox. Well, it could be worse. Hello? And apparently it was. I went to go wind up the music box and found Mangle hanging from the ceiling with the radio static coming from it. What was up with that anyway? I looked at the stage and saw the toys were still there. I then went to the storage closet and groaned when I saw that old Bonnie was missing from the room. A quick search revealed him standing in the main hall. I looked away, flashed my light down the hall, and saw Foxy was still there. I flickered the light and went back to the screen. Hi. I didn't hear any movement, so I think I'm good, for now. I wound up the music box and noticed Mangle was gone. On the bright side, it was the farthest from the office, so I shouldn't have to worry about it for a while. I looked down the hall and discovered Foxy was gone, only to be replaced by old Bonnie. His faceless robotic body stared at me at the back of the hallway. It was very disturbing. Hello? I heard movement through the vents. I checked the left air vent feed and sure enough saw BB staring at the camera with those creepy blue eyes. I flashed the light at him a bit to hopefully get him to stay there for a little while. I then looked back down the hall and saw it was empty. Well, I suppose that's good. I checked the parts services room and felt my heart speed up when I saw only a brown bear in the room. I flipped through the rooms and eventually found old Chica in party room 2. Old Bonnie, however, was at party room 4, crouching in front of the vent opening. Hi. I looked away from the screen and turned the light up the left vent. I wasn't surprised when I saw BB's face in the vent. Put the mask on and waited. A few seconds later, I heard the movement in the vent go away from me. I took off the mask, checked the vent, and saw it was empty, and checked the screen. The music box got wound up and I checked the stage. All 3 were still there. I found it suspicious, but I didn't think too hard about it. I looked away to look at the hallway, but I instead was greeted by a broken-jawed chicken, duck, bird thing in my office. I put the mask on quickly and tried to calm myself. I didn't even hear old Chica in the vents. I really need to pay attention more. After the lights flickered and turned back on again, I took the mask off when it was revealed that she was gone. The next few hours seemed to pass by fast, and not much really happened. Sure, there was an instance of old Bonnie getting in the office too, but nothing quick reflexes couldn't handle. My goodness, a lot of bots here tonight, huh? I then looked at the clock and saw it was 4:03. It was 4:03 a.m. It was almost over. I just had to hold on a little while longer. I could make it. I then turned my flashlight on the hallway and was shocked to see a yellow feminine chicken holding a pink cupcake. Dems, finally. Hey, yeah, no worries, Dems. Yeah, you have no need to apologize for that. Yep, just glad you found time to get it. Yeah, life got in the way. Yep, again, no worries. No worries. Real life should always be more important than something like this. That being said, though, you might be a bit lost with the story and some of the characters, but oh well. I then turned my flashlight on the hallway and was shocked to see a yellow feminine chicken holding a pink cupcake. The toys were moving now? I checked the stage and sure enough, saw it completely empty. I really needed to focus now. Soon, more time passed, and I was impressed with how easy it had been despite the toys walking around. Toy Bonnie was in the vent once, as well as Toy Chica, but I managed to stop them from getting in. Even if they got in, though, I wondered if it would work like the old characters, and that they wouldn't kill me right away. I wasn't risking it. Hi. That's just what I needed to hear right now. I turned on the left vent and saw BB in the vent, of course. The only annoying thing about him is his creepy voice and look. He hasn't gotten into my office yet. Hopefully he'll stay that way. It's okay, I'll try to imagine what happened previously. Just the sum of the basics is, it's a new character, Jeremy Fitzgerald. Yeah, he's a high schooler, got a job at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And yeah, that's basically the gist of it. He's been learning some things now and then about some rumors about the establishment. Yeah, so that's just the basics of who this is. So this isn't Mike, this is a new character, Jeremy. Finally, the clock chimed, and I realized I'd been holding my breath. I exhaled and wiped my face. I had been sweating too? Man, this job was really getting to me. I still wonder what was going on at this place. I'll have to spend some time before my next shift to investigate. Dark secrets. When I woke up that afternoon, I decided to need to figure out where to look for information, which wasn't hard to do. There was a place that has to have information on Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and any incident that occurred there. After eating brunch, I asked my mom if I could borrow her car. I was shocked when she said no, that her car was only for getting to work. I groaned as I debated my options. My car would never make it downtown, so there was one sure way to make it. I went into the garage and dug up my old bicycle. It was old and falling apart, but it was all I had. At least my bike wouldn't stop working in the middle of the street. After about 10 minutes of hard pedaling, I reached my destination. I parked my bike in a rack and walked towards the front door of the police station. The small lobby in front was empty, save for a uniformed officer reading a magazine behind the front desk. I went up to the desk. The officer didn't seem to notice me. "Excuse me," I told the cop. He looked up from his magazine and into my eyes. "Yes?" he simply replied. "Hi, I work at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the pizza place outside of town." "Oh?" he asked with a raise of an eyebrow. "What complaint about the place do we have this time?" "That's just it," I explained. "I'm curious as to what exactly people have said about the restaurant." "Well, there have been dozens over the business's history," he explained. "I swear that place is cursed." "Cursed?" I asked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, every time the place opens up, it gets closed after a week or so due to a tragedy." "Tragedy? What kind of tragedy?" He then put the magazine on the desk and sat up. "Wait right here," he commanded. He then walked down a hallway to the side and disappeared from sight. While I waited patiently for him to return, I thought about what he told me. Was the restaurant seriously cursed? And what kind of tragedy was he referring to that would cause the place to close? He then returned to the desk holding what looked like a newspaper clipping. "Here," he said. "This should explain it." I then took the clipping from his hand and looked at it. It was an article dated around 15 years ago, the time me and Jacob apparently went to the restaurant as kids. On the article was a picture of a small building with a small sign showing very cheesy drawing of a cartoon bear holding a top hat on it. I then read the article. "Family diner closed after reported murder of child." The lovely singing that could be heard from the family restaurant on the corner of Clark Boulevard and Main Street has been silenced. Police reports claim a young boy, estimated age 6, was murdered outside the building after being denied entry to the establishment. Says the manager who denied the boy his entry. "Our policy states that children must be accompanied by an adult to gain entry. I sent him outside for a few moments while I phoned the authorities about the child's missing guardians. When I went back to check on him, I saw the boy lying face down in a pool of blood as an individual in a purple coat entered a black van and immediately drove off. I ran back inside and yelled for someone to call the police again, but about the child and the man in purple. I ran back outside, but it was no use. He was already dead. The police currently have no leads on the suspect other than the purple coat and black van. It is suspected the child was a victim of opportunity, not a personal victim. The restaurant's reputation quickly decreased afterwards, and its policies were questioned heavily by angry parents. A few days later, the manager announced the restaurant would close to avoid lawsuits. It saddens me that this happened at a place where kids should have been safe," the manager explained. "I have been informed, though, that the building will be bought by a new company that hopes to change the restaurant soon and make everything perfect for children once again. The new company plans to open the new restaurant next year, with new policies and new additions to give the children a better and safer time of play." I stared at the article in total shock. Was this really what happened that caused the place to close? "It's a shame, really," the cop told me as he took the article back. "We never did catch the bastard that did it. For all we know, he could still be killing kids as we speak." "That's awful." "Gets worse. When the new restaurant opened a year later, it happened again, but worse." "Worse? How?" "Hang on." He then went back down the hallway. While he was gone, I deeply thought about the article. A murdered child? A man in a purple coat? A new company? What does all this mean for me? Yes, Dems, you probably missed it, but just at the beginning of that chapter you pulled up, the manager was, for the first time, we'd seen the manager wearing a purple coat. So, just to give you a little clue. The officer came back with a different article in his hand and gave it to me. I took it and read it silently. Numerous children missing in local family restaurant. History repeating itself? The recently opened family restaurant on Martinez Avenue is in serious trouble. Over the course of his... Sorry, I just realized I did this intentionally, but it's just not hitting me that these street names are named after my exes. The street names I use in these articles are the last names of my exes. I just realized that. I did that intentionally, but in hindsight, in hindsight, that was not a good idea. Is in serious trouble. Over the course of its opening week, 5 children, aged between 6 and 10, have been reported missing. The only connection between the children is the fact they were last seen at the restaurant just before closing hours. It's a shame, really, the manager told police. Yeah, my exes. Yeah. It's a shame, really. All our employees are 100% trustworthy. We run deep and accurate background checks on all of them, with all showing no signs of being predators or anything of the sort. This is not the first time there have been problems at a family environment in the recent years. Just a year ago, a child was murdered outside of a local children's restaurant, which caused the company to close its doors. It was quickly bought by a new company, and the place was given a new name. Now tragedy has struck again. While the children have yet to be found, parents are questioning the safety of their children in the building. The company has gotten many lawsuits due to the disappearances, which in itself decrease the reputation and business of the pizzeria. We may end up having to close as well, the manager said. We hope to eventually reopen in the future, but most likely around a decade from now when this whole thing blows over. Hopefully the children can be found within that time. My deepest condolences go out to their parents. If you have any information on the disappearances or whereabouts of the 5 young children, please call the local police station. Any and all information is helpful. Holy, I said quietly. We never found those kids, unfortunately. We can only hope they're alive and okay. Yeah, I suppose. And the place eventually did reopen, the officer replied. That's the restaurant you're working at now. Well, I've only been working less than a week, I explained, but I can't say I've seen anything suspicious. Well, maybe the curse has been lifted, the officer replied with a chuckle as he took back the article. Anyway, if you find anything out of the ordinary, let us know, okay? Of course. I then thanked the cop and walked out of the police station. As I got on my bike, I couldn't help but think of the articles. What was going on at that Freddy Fazbear's Pizza? Bad luck or a terrible connection? Either way, I need to clarify some things with the manager before I begin my 5th night at Freddy's. Fifth night. This was it, my final night at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. 6th night. At least for this week. I was very nervous, but I honestly wasn't that scared. I feel like I've encountered everything I could possibly encounter here. Here's hoping I'm right. I pulled into the parking lot of the restaurant at my usual time and went inside. Once again, the manager was in the front area, only this time something was different. He was standing right in front of the stage, appearing to be looking right into the eyes of Toy Freddy. The robot wasn't looking back, of course, but I'm surprised he wasn't. When I opened the door, the manager looked away from Toy Freddy and straight at me. Mr. Fitzgerald? Oh, excuse me. Mr. Fitzgerald, he said with a gasp. You're here early. I looked at my watch and shook my head. It's the same time I've arrived here all week, I replied. Oh, right, of course. Are you okay, sir? Yes, of course. I really wanted to believe him. Well, I'll see you tomorrow then, he said quickly as he headed towards the door. Wait, sir. Yes? Can I ask how you became the manager? Excuse me? I'm just curious. He stared at me with a confused look, not that I blame him. Well, he explained, I was a waiter at the previous location. I was the best employee the restaurant could ask for, according to the manager at the time. When this new establishment opened, the previous manager highly recommended me for management of this new restaurant. Oh, I see. Yes, but I must admit being the manager is tougher than I ever thought it would be. How so? Let's just say I'm encountering problems I could never foreshadow. Such as? Well, those damn animatronics are a good example. I then looked at the toys, and they stared off into the darkened game area. I then looked at the manager and nodded. I then took a look at his attire in more detail. I like that coat, by the way, I told him. No, thank you, he replied as he buttoned it up. Interesting color for a fur coat, don't you think? Well, purple is my favorite color, see? 227 comments. Oh, I see. We then stood there in awkward silence. I guess I better get to work, I finally told him. You do that, he replied. Good night. Good night, Mr. Fitzgerald. He then walked out of the restaurant into the night. I then quickly went into my office and sat down in my chair. I was going to be fine. One more day, and I'm done for the week. I began thinking about the manager and his claim of how he got such a position. I don't doubt he was an employee at the old location. My doubt was he would be handed the job for just being a good employee, not to mention the purple coat. The clock above me rang. It was midnight. I only had 6 more hours to go. I got this in the bag. Right on cue, the phone rang. I grabbed it and picked it up. Hello? Hello? Hey, good job, night 5. The friendly voice I had gotten used to by now answered. Hey, keep a close eye on things tonight, okay? Of course, I replied. It's my job. Right. But, from what I understand, the building's on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, especially concerning any previous employees. But I just got in with no problem. And the manager was left. But I just got in with no problem. And the manager just left when I arrived. I then paused. What did he mean about previous employees? Well, I'm not for certain what exactly is going on, but when we get it all sorted out, we may have to move you to day shift. I deeply sighed with relief. That was amazing news to hear. I then paused again when I realized something. Why would I be the day shift? I asked. Because the position just became available, he replied with a clearing of the throat. I really don't like the way he said that. What happened to the old day guard? We don't have a replacement for your shift yet, but we're working on it. I suppose it would be hard to get a new night guard at a place that's presumably on lockdown. We're going to try and contact the original restaurant owner, he continued. I think the name of the place was Fredbear's Family Diner or something like that. It's been closed for years, though. I doubt we'll be able to track anyone down. Fredbear's Family Diner? Was that the original restaurant before Freddy Fazbear's Pizza? The one where that child was murdered? Why would they be trying to contact the people there? Oh, well, just get through one more night. Hang in there, he concluded. Good night. Okay, good night. He then hung up and I slowly put the receiver back. I had so many questions I needed answered. Unfortunately, the answers would have to wait. I need to focus on surviving one more night. First thing I did was start winding up the music box. I felt like it was unwinding faster than usual, which is not a good thing. I didn't even bother checking any of the other cameras. It seemed kind of pointless. All I really needed to do was check my vent openings and the hallway. Hello? Well, that certainly didn't take long. I then flashed my light in the hallway and found a familiar red fox standing at the end. I then quickly rewound the music box, and just before putting my screen back down, I put the Freddy head on, just in case. I looked away from the screen and saw the room was empty. Well, that's a relief. I took the mask off and checked the hallway again. Foxy was still there. I then heard metal thumping in my right vent. Hi! I ignored BB for now and prepared myself for whatever was coming out of the right, presumably old Chica. I wound the box back up, slid on the mask, and looked up. Empty. I had a feeling I wasn't always going to be that lucky. I flickered my light down the hall again, only to discover Foxy was there, as well as old Bonnie. These guys certainly weren't making this easy. I wound the box up yet again, put on the Freddy head, and looked away. This time I was greeted by the tummy of a broken yellow chicken duck thing as the lights flickered a bit before going completely off. When they came back on, old Chica had disappeared. I quickly took the mask back off and flickered down the hallway. I sighed with relief when I saw nobody was in it. Hi! This time there was thumping in the left air vent. I turned the light on above the vent and saw that creepy kid looking at me. I put the mask back on and waited. After I heard more thumping, I took it off and turned the light on again. BB was gone. I looked down the hallway again and it was still empty. Good. I kept winding the music box. While I did, I saw a mangle hanging from the ceiling in the prize counter. It was still a while away though, so that's good. I put the mask back on and looked away from the screen. This time I saw a tattered old purple stomach when the lights flickered. When they came back on, old Bonnie was nowhere to be found. I took the mask off again and flashed down the hall. Foxy was there, but I think I was safe for now. Yeah, that's honestly my biggest criticism of FNAF 2 as a whole, is that the gameplay loop is so repetitive in that game in particular. Like, literally all you gotta do, flash the hallway, check your vents, put the camera up, wind the music box, put the camera off, put the camera down, immediately put on the mask, repeat. Like, it's so such simplistic gameplay. For the longest time, it was all pretty repetitive. Check the hall, Check the hall, check the vents, find the music box, put the mask on, wait, repeat. Actually got a bit bored. Okay, I swear I did not even see that cut. I didn't see that paragraph. I swear I did not see that paragraph before I just made that rant. I swear, that was just perfect timing. After what seemed like forever, I looked at the clock. 3:34. Man, this night was taking forever. I then looked down the hall and saw someone I didn't expect to see. Toy Freddy. The toys were on the move now? Hello? Damn, I hate that kid. I then heard thumping to my right yet again. I turned on the vent light and saw the blue bunny with green eyes staring at me. I put the mask on and waited. The lights flickered as Toy Bunny moved across the room. Finally, they turned back on and I took the mask off. Hello? Thumbing in the left vent, I turned the vent light on and saw it was empty. This was my chance to quickly wind the music box, so I hurried and did just that. When I looked at the back room, I gave a small gasp. It disappeared almost immediately, but I saw what looked like an animatronic sitting in the left corner. It looked like old Freddy, but yellow and dirty. It looked like it was slouched over as if missing an endoskeleton. By the time I even asked myself what it was gone. Was I just seeing things? I hope so. Hi. I kept the mask on as I heard BB approach. A few seconds later, I heard him crawl away. I took the mask off and looked down at the hallway. No Foxy, but I did see his new counterpart dangling from the ceiling. I wound the box back up and continued my pattern. After the longest time, I looked at the clock. 5:56. I got this. I know I do. I then wound up the music box again. As I did, I heard loud static coming from my right. I kept winding the box, hoping to get it as full as possible. When I felt like it was good, I put on the mask and looked up. I paused. Why did the static get louder? I took the mask off and gasped with fear. Mangle was right above me on the ceiling. Oh shit. The day guard never warned me about this. What do? It just stayed on the ceiling, mouth wide open and staring at my eyes. I looked at the clock. 5:58. Come on, surely I can survive another 2 minutes. I then pointed my flashlight down the hall and pressed the button. Nothing happened. I shook the flashlight a bit and tried again. Still nothing. Oh, motherfucking shit. The battery is dead. I felt my heart go up by 1,000. Would I still make it? I looked back up at Mangle, who was still staring at me with static pouring out of it. I was scared to look back at my screen for fear it would attack me. But that music box. I then heard the glorious sound I couldn't believe I was hearing. The 6 a.m. chime. The Mangle then crawled towards and down the hallway, presumably going back to Kid's Cove. I deeply exhaled and put my head against the desk. I had done it. I had survived 5 nights at Freddy's. It was all over now. And what I need to do now is get my stupid paycheck and get the hell out of here. Oh boy. Yeah, you think you're done, Jeremy. Oh, you think you're done. After I calmed myself down, I got up and left my office. I was happy to leave this place for the week. I definitely needed a break. I made it to the main area and saw my freedom in sight. The sunlight pouring into the restaurant felt heavenly. Before leaving, I turned towards the show stage and saw the 3 toys standing there, as if they never moved. I smiled and silently wished them good riddance. I turned back towards the exit and jumped in fear. Standing in front of the entrance was the manager, donning his purple fur coat and staring with a blank expression. He then calmly opened the door, not breaking eye contact with me. I started feeling very uncomfortable, especially if he really was who I thought he was. Hello, Mr. Fitzgerald, he told me with no emotion in his voice whatsoever. Name drop. What do you mean? Hello, Mr. Fitzgerald, he told me with no emotion in his voice whatsoever. Hello, sir, I replied while trying to sound calm. He then slowly turned towards the show stage and stared at the animatronics, as I had done a minute ago. I then saw a small smile emerge on his face. You've done a good job taking care of the place, he told me with that smile still plastered on his face. Oh, thank you, sir. That's why I'm going to ask one small favor. What's that? He still stared at me with a suspicious smile. I would like you to work some overtime. I stared into his eyes, which seemed paler than usual, and hoped he was kidding. I quickly got the feeling, though, that he wasn't. What do you mean? I asked. As I said, you've done a good job at doing, well, your job. And as you might know by now, we are still looking for a replacement for your shift. Until then, you need to continue. But isn't this place technically on lockdown? He gave a small shrug. There's a possibility we may close in the near future, but not just yet. I continued to stare at him. He did the same to me. Why should I do this? Willingly, I mean. Because it's the only way you'll get this week's paycheck. And if you do one more night, I'll give you your normal paycheck and your overtime bonus this time tomorrow. I still stared at him. As much as I wanted to decline, I knew it would be idiotic to not take the money after going everything I'd been through. Fine, I grumbled. Perfect, he said as his smile grew. I'll see you tonight then. Same time. Without responding, I quickly brushed out of the restaurant in frustration. I took all my willpower to not knock his block off back there. I guess my 5 nights at Freddy's is going to be slightly extended. Hopefully it'll all be worth it. Oh, Jeremy. I parked my mom's car in the driveway and immediately punched the steering wheel. That son of a bitch was seriously going to make me stay there another night. And I think I know why, too. And I can assure you it's not because I'm good at my job. It's because he knows I know who he is. I then walked into my house, where I was quickly greeted by a disturbing sight. Jacob and Courtney French kissing on the couch. Should have gone with making out, but yeah, whatever. As soon as they heard the door, they stopped and looked at me with embarrassed faces. Oh, hey, Jeremy, Jacob told me as he sat up straight. Didn't think you'd be home this early. This is when I usually get home, I replied. Did nobody pay attention to my schedule all week? Well, I think I better go, Courtney said as she stood up and brushed her hair out of her face. Enjoy your weekend off, Jeremy. I then scoffed. I don't have one, I murmured. Huh? I then explained to both of them about my surprise overtime and how the manager was acting when he assigned it to me. What? Courtney asked. But the manager seems like such a great guy. There's no way he'd act like that. Well, if he is who I think he is, I don't think he's a nice guy at all. What the hell do you mean by that? Jacob asked. Well, I did a bit of research about the place, I explained. Apparently, about 16 years ago, a child was murdered outside of a family diner, which quickly shut down afterwards. The one responsible was a man in a purple coat. That's awful, Courtney gasped. What does that have to do with the manager? For the last few nights, I've seen him wear a large purple coat. Jeremy, that's gotta be a coincidence, Jacob argued. That murder happened 16 years ago, you said? If he was the murderer, why would he keep the coat after all these years? I don't know, I admitted, but he told me himself he worked in the location after that, which was the first Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. So? Do you know why that place closed? Because 5 children went missing. Come on, you think he's responsible for that? Courtney asked. I'm just saying it's all too strange of a coincidence, I concluded. And what, you think he gets that you're onto him, so he's punishing you with overtime? Jacob asked. It makes sense, I guess, Courtney said with a shrug. But he doesn't look like that bad of a guy, though. Well, you did claim the daytime guard was a pedo, and the fact that he's not is not that. But the fact is, he's not that bad of a guy, I replied. I told you, looks can be deceiving. I suppose. I then thought of something. By the way, I continued, do you know anything about what happened to the daytime guard? Huh? She asked. What do you mean? The assistant manager claimed the day shift just became available. I'm curious as to why. I haven't heard anything about that. He must have got fired after closing last night. That's weird. Maybe he really is a pedo after all and got caught. Maybe. Well, that doesn't really matter, Jacob butted in. All that's important is that manager and what's up with him. You're right, I replied with a nod. Do you guys think you could find info on him for me? Why us? I need to get rest for tonight. Plus, I'm sure you're both curious about this whole situation, too. They both looked at each other with a look that confirmed my suspicion. Fine, Courtney told me. We'll see what we can find. Thank you, I told her. I mean it. Sure, Jacob told me. Now, get some rest. You need it. I gave a small yawn and nod as I walked upstairs to my room. I need all the energy I can get for my 6th night. I just hope Jacob and Courtney can find something useful. Oh, that's right. That's right, I did a reaction to the FNAF 3 trailer. I pulled into the parking lot of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and stared at the building. I really couldn't believe I had to work another night. I just really hoped everything would run smooth and easy. Of course, what are the odds of that? I walked up at the front door of the building. I never really noticed it before. The restaurant is pretty spooky looking at night. Without the red letters in the front lit up, it looked practically abandoned. It may have just been my imagination, but the eyes of the cartoon toy Freddy seemed to be following me. I finally walked up to the front glass doors and immediately stopped. The light in the main area was off. I couldn't see a single sign of anyone inside the building. I checked my watch. It was 11:55, just as it's been all week. Where was the manager? I pushed on the door and it actually opened. Surely that's a sign someone was inside, if that's what I really want right now. I slowly crept through the main area in total darkness. I could see a small lit area in the hallway that I presumed was coming from the security office. I kept my eyes on that as I kept going through the building. I tried my best to avoid eye contact with the toys on the stage, but I couldn't help but feel that if I turned around right now, they'd be staring at me. I hurried up as I continued down the hallway and into the safety of my office. Huh! Never thought I'd feel the most safe in this room. I sat down, closed my eyes, and relaxed. The manager promised one more night and then I'd get my paycheck as well as my overtime bonus. Prayed to God he was telling the truth. Suddenly, I heard the phone ring. I opened my eyes and gave a small scream when I did. My shift hadn't started. Why am I getting a call? I picked up the phone and held it to my ear. Hello? I asked. Hello? I asked again. I could hear some breathing on the other end. I heard a familiar voice say, What on earth are you doing there? I'm working overtime, I told the phone guy. The manager pretty much forced me to. Speaking of which, do you know where didn't you get the memo? He interrupted. The place is closed down, at least for a while. What? I gasped. You mean it's like officially closed now? Why? Someone used one of the suits, he explained in a nervous tone. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right. I'm sorry, I replied. What do you mean someone used a spare suit? Listen, just finish your shift, he replied quickly. It's safer than trying to leave in the middle of the night. I looked at the clock above me. It was 11:58 p.m. Maybe if I was fast enough. Hey, we have one more event scheduled for tomorrow. A birthday, he continued. You'll be on day shift. Wear your uniform, stay close to the animatronics, make sure they don't hurt anyone, okay? Alright, I replied quietly. On the bright side, at least my last shift would be in the day. For now, just make it through your night, he concluded. Gladly, I told him. I didn't care if it sounded rude or not. The only thing I care about is following that last order. Then a thought hit me. Say, I asked, even though the place is pretty much closed, do I still have to watch the place at night? Of course not, he replied. When the place eventually opens again, I'll probably take the night shift myself. I don't know which is worse, the fact that he willingly put himself in this position, or the fact that he believes the place will reopen. That's awfully brave of you, I told him. Well, you gotta do what you gotta do, he replied. Anyway, a good night, and good luck. Thanks, I answered softly. He then hung up. I slowly put the receiver back. I then began asking myself so many questions. If the place is closed, why would the manager have me work tonight? Why did the place close at all? What did the phone guy mean when he said someone used a spare yellow suit? Suddenly the clock above me chimed midnight. I held my breath as I realized there was no backing out now. I had to finish my shift whether I wanted to or not. Of course, it's obvious which one I'd rather do. I immediately pulled up the camera screen and began winding up the music box. After that, I put the screen down and shone my light down the hallway. Nothing. So far, so good. After repeating that process for a few minutes, I finally got a change. Foxy appeared in the hallway, looking as mean and gruesome as ever. Hello? Man, BB doesn't waste any time. I wound up the music box and looked down the hall again. Foxy was gone, but he was replaced by a faceless old body. These animatronics definitely seem to be improving their speed and determination. Let's hope I can do the same. I wound the music box back up and instantly put on the Freddy head as I looked away. Sure enough, old Chica was right in front of me, seeming to appear out of nowhere. I noticed she tends to do that a lot. After the lights flickered and she disappeared, I took the mask off and checked all the entrances. All clear. Hi. I ignored the little son of a bitch as I wound the music box back up. I put the mask back on and looked away. Nobody there. That's a relief. I shone my light in the hall and was greeted by old Freddy standing in the doorway, microphone in hand. I suspect, though, he wasn't going to be performing for me anytime soon. I heard static coming from my right and instantly put my mask on. There was no way I was letting Mangle back into my room. I waited a few seconds before I heard the static slowly fade away. I checked the vent light to be sure, though. Hello? Clanking in the left vent, that spawn of Satan was on his way. I was ready for him, though. Gosh. Yeah, back in the day, BB was such a total punching bag. Yeah, such a total punching bag. It was a lot of it wasn't really warranted. A lot of it was just exaggeration, but gosh, that really seeped through. That's another thing I like about these stories, and the fact that they were written when it was the newest game. Just it gave you a good idea of just where the fandom's mindset was at the time. It's a little time capsule of sorts. I wound the music box back up, put on the mask, and looked away. The lights flickered as a purple tummy looked me in the eyes. After After old Bonnie was gone, I took the mask off and shone my light down the hall. I gasped, though, when I saw what looked like a transparent giant head of the old yellow Freddy I saw yesterday. Wait a second. Yellow? I quickly turned on the flashlight and waited a few seconds. Looking at the thing scared me. After about 5 seconds, I looked back down the hall and saw Foxy at the end. Well, it's something I'm sure is real. Actually, that might be a bad thing. Hi. I instantly pulled down my mask as I heard the clanking in the left vent grow louder. A few seconds passed before I heard the clanking go away. I pulled my mask up, checked the vent, saw nothing was there, and kept going. I repeated the process for what seemed like forever. It was constantly winding up the music box and checking the vents and shining my light down the hallway. The only real excitement was from when old Bonnie, Chica, or Freddy entered the room, but even then it was too predictable. I then looked at the clock. 4:04 a.m. Well, at least I'm almost done here. I quickly wound up the music box and looked away from the screen while wearing the mask. When I did, though, something strange happened. I took the mask off and saw what looked like a shadowy figure in the left corner of the room. The only color on it was 2 bright white dotted eyes and a row of bright yellow white teeth. Its head also looked like toy bodies. Shadow Bonnie. I put the screen back up to protect myself from whatever was there, or possibly not. When I did, I accidentally bumped the screen with my hand to change the camera to the parts service closet. I was about to change to the prize corner when I saw something in the back room. A dark purple Freddy Fazbear with glowing eyes and teeth? What was going on here? I changed the prize counter, continued winding up the music box, trying to calm myself down. When I did, I looked and saw my room was empty. Man, this job was really starting to mess with my mind a bit. I looked down the hallway and saw what looked like Toy Chica holding her cupcake. She was the first toy I'd seen all night, but that was an indicator the rest were moving as well. Not a problem. I only have less than 2 hours ago. Like I said earlier in the stream, I was playing Five Nights at Freddy's 2 yesterday, and whenever I would turn the flashlight on and see Toy Chica in the hallway staring at you, the only thing going through my mind was from Five Nights at Freddy's 2, Not Scary. It was, do you want some pancakes? Yeah, I rewatched those, the first 2 at least. The first 2 ones were the ones I had the most nostalgia for. Oh man. It's very corny nowadays, but so many funny memories. I still have some pancakes. Oh boy. Anyway, derailing a little bit. I kept my routine of checking the room entrances and winding up the music box and putting on the mask for a long time. It almost seemed like a habit at this point. I took another glance at the clock. 5:30 a.m. Got this in the bag. Only half an hour left. Hi. Oh shit, I'd forgotten about that little demon. I looked in the vent and saw the creepy face staring at me in the eye. I put the mask on and waited. Suddenly an orange light flashed on my desk. The music box. Great, I have BB in my vent and a music box that's about to stop playing. Which do I take care of? Well, surely that brat must have left the vent by now, right? I was playing Night 6 yesterday, and the exact same situation happened to me. BB would not leave no matter how long I had the mask on, and I couldn't wind up the music box in time, and the puppet got me. Like, no matter how long I kept the mask on, BB would not leave. It was so annoying. I quickly took my mask off and wound up the music box. While I did, I heard a really creepy laugh of a little boy. A second later, it repeated. Then it did it again. And again. Oh shit. I dared myself to look away from the screen. My heart sunk when I saw, in the left corner, BB standing there with a giant red and yellow balloon and a sign that read balloons. Man, oh man, did I screw up big time. I grabbed my flashlight as I heard the kid still laugh. I tried turning it on and looked down the hallway, but for whatever reason, it wouldn't turn on. Tried the vents as well. Nothing. Damn it all to hell. The day guard wasn't kidding when he said this would happen. I heard the little robot continue to laugh as I growled with frustration. I was so close to making it. Why did this little bastard have to get it now? Then I did the unthinkable. It may have been because I was desperate, or maybe it was because I was angry, but either way, I jumped out of my chair, grabbed the electric fan off the desk, ran towards BB, and struck him in the head. Ha ha ha. That's when I heard the fan lodge itself into his plastic head. The top of his face collapsed on itself, causing his left eyeball to roll out onto the floor. Yet despite that, he somehow kept on laughing. Yeah, two of the most hated things at the time were the fan, because that's what was draining your power when you weren't doing anything, and then BB. So I essentially just quite literally killed two birds with one stone here. I pulled the fan out of his head, causing more plastic to break off. I could still see bits of metal and wire poking inside, but he continued to laugh. I then beat him with the fan again, causing the front of his face to shatter into a million pieces. I kept beating his stupid head with that stupid fan for what seemed like forever. I was just so angry. Top-notch sound. Yeah. Finally, I stopped swinging when he stopped laughing. By then, his head was pretty much non-existent. All that was left was a few wires poking out of his neck and bits of tan-colored plastic scattered all over the floor. I deeply exhaled as I let the fan drop to the floor. I felt really good, to be honest. It was certainly a way to relieve my stress. I then saw what looked like an orange light flashing behind me. I turned around and saw it was coming near my screen. Suddenly, it turned red and flashed faster. "Oh shit!" I screamed aloud as I ran towards my desk. I jumped and slid over the desk like I was Bo Duke going across the General Lee. Although not as elegant as he was, because I fell off on the other side, knocking the screen down in the process. I got up, pulled up the screen up, pressed the wind button, felt my heart stop. It wouldn't wind. Not only that, but I heard creepy music play throughout the air. Sound like a music box version of Pop Goes the Weasel. I then turned the light on in the prize corner and saw the purple gift box was completely open, as if something came out of it. Music continued to play as I looked around the office. I was really scared now more than ever. The only thing I know about what will happen now is that prize puppet will be agitated. What will happen then? I picked up the flashlight and shone it down the hallway. It was completely empty. The music continued to play. It was almost as annoying as BB's laugh. Suddenly I heard a loud robotic scream as I saw a large white face pop out of the darkness. It had angry eye sockets, a giant smile, red cheeks, red lips, and purple stripes under its eye sockets. Before I could even scream, the puppet tackled me backwards, causing my head to slam against the wall. It hurt like hell, but not as much as the sharp pain in my neck. I looked and saw that the puppet was wrapping its thin hands around my neck, trying to strangle me. I then took my flashlight and beat the crazy clown thing in the head as hard as I could. It then loosens its grip a bit, allowing me to quickly slide away from its hands and out of the way. I immediately jumped up, crawled over my desk, knocked off everything else still on it, got on my feet, and then bolted towards the hallway. I turned on my flashlight and saw it was still empty. That's just what I need right now. The phone guy claimed finishing my shift was safer than trying to leave. I hoped with every muscle in my body that he was wrong. Now comes the part of the story where things start getting real. Surviving. I ran down the hallway with all my energy, shining my light in front of me on my way. Wait, didn't it just say the battery was dead? I then took my flashlight. I turned my flashlight and saw it was still empty. Wait. Oh, immediate continuity error. Immediate continuity error. Oh my goodness. Maybe it was his... Yeah, it's first comment. Isn't your flashlight dead? Oh my gosh. I am such an idiot. Oh my gosh. Oh well. I dashed through the room, avoiding the many tables on the way. I turned and saw the show stage was completely empty. No surprise there at all. I then kept running as I saw the doors getting closer and closer. Finally, I was right in front of them. There was no time to lose. I grabbed the handle and pulled. I got very confused. It didn't open. I pulled it again. Nothing. And then tried pushing it, just in case. It still didn't open. What the hell was going on? Why are the doors locked? They were unlocked when I got in here. You know, maybe he switched around the batteries. You know, when you do that and get an extra bit of energy. Sure, we'll go with that. He just forgot to catalog that.
I then looked at my watch. 5:49. I just need to survive 11 more minutes in here and I'll be done. I turned around to show my flashlight in the main area. Nothing in sight. That was good, for now. I then shone it towards the game area. That, on the other hand, contained Mangle hanging from the wall, Toy Freddy near the carousel. Neither were looking at me, so that was good. I then tiptoed back towards the hallway. I then looked down the hall towards the office. In the hallway was the silhouette of Foxy. In the office itself was old Chica in front of the desk, seemed to look around the room. Well, going back to the office was out of the question. Where's a different place the animatronics wouldn't think to find me? I looked to my right and got my answer. The bathrooms. The animatronics are too tall to get through these doors. There's no way they'll get in and get me. Hold on. Oh, I got a hair in my mouth. I don't know where that came from. I then turned towards the bathroom doors and slowly walked into the men's room. It was completely dark, but it was nothing a flashlight couldn't fix. A flashlight that you said was dead. I found a stall and quickly walked into it and locked the door. I then sat on the toilet lid and sat completely still. I looked up at my watch. 5:52. It's going to be a long 8 minutes. Hopefully it'll be safe though. I sat for what seemed like forever. I decided to quietly sing Bohemian Rhapsody to myself. It was a longer song and it was certainly cheered me up a bit. The music itself though, not the lyrics. Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. I rocked a bit on the toilet as I continued to sing as quietly as possible. Certainly distracting me from the potential death I could soon receive. Mama, just kill a man. Put a gun against his head. Pull my trigger, now he's dead. Yeah, who doesn't love Bohemian Rhapsody? Like, let's be real. I saw a post years ago. It was like, Bohemian Rhapsody is simultaneously everyone's favorite song and not favorite song. Like, if you ask someone what their favorite song was, they wouldn't say Bohemian Rhapsody, but if it starts playing, they can't help but sing along. I could hear footsteps outside the restroom. Fortunately, they went away as fast as they approached. Bismillah, no, we will not let you go. It seemed to get real quiet all of a sudden. Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me, for me, for me. It was tempting to scream that last part, but I remembered my current situation. Just gotta get out, just gotta get right out of here. Yeah, that describes the situation very well. It was still very quiet. Not sure if that's good or bad. Nothing really matters. Anyone can see. Nothing really matters. Nothing really matters to me. Suddenly, I heard the bathroom door slam open. I quickly covered my mouth to prevent myself from screaming. In my head, though, I finished the song. Anyway the wind blows. I kept my hand over my mouth. No other sounds than the door opening. Was anyone in here? Surely there couldn't be. Slam! I heard the stall at the end of the row get forced open. Oh shit. They must know I'm in here somewhere. Slam! The one after that went open too. This was really not good. Slam! It got closer and closer to my stall. I couldn't risk taking out my flashlight to check my watch. Could I still make it? Slam! That was the stall right next to mine. I really don't know if I'll make it. There was a pause all of a sudden. I couldn't hear any footsteps or anything. It's like whoever was in there just stopped. Surely it's not 6 a.m. yet, right? Slam! The stall door got hit hard. I screamed as I heard the loud noise. Fortunately, the door was locked, so it didn't burst open. Slam! The stall door still didn't open. I couldn't believe it. I might actually have a chance. Slam! 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 The door was starting to get a bit loose now. It was holding pretty well, though. Suddenly, the noise stopped again. Not a sound was heard. No footsteps, nor doors opening, nothing. Was I safe now? Did I make it? Slam! The stall door seemed to suddenly explode as a loud noise blared through the restroom. The door fell on top of me, hitting my head hard in the process. Before I could respond to that, I felt something grab my arm. I looked and barely made out the face of the prize puppet. Bro, I found those 3 vids like 5 years ago, and I've listened to them about 7 times. Oh, my audiobook recordings? Yeah. Yeah, this is more or less an updated version of those, but then you get the writer commentary on top of it. But yeah. Man. I'm almost tempted to go back and listen to some of those audiobooks because, yeah. I mean, it's the same story, but my audio quality has definitely improved since then. At least I hope. The puppet then yanked me out of the stalls. I screamed in terror. I then found myself sliding across the restroom door and out the door, floor and out the door, into the hallway. I could still see Foxy in the hall, although he quickly turned around when he heard my screams. I looked around and saw I was being pulled towards the parts and service closet. I can only assume why. It was completely dark in the closet. Luckily, I managed to hang on to my flashlight the whole time. I turned it on and saw not much except for some spare suits of the toys and a few metal endoskeletons. One suit in particular was one that looked like old Freddy. It was facing the back corner and had a giant hole in it. I assume it's so an endoskeleton can go inside. Or maybe something else can. There was no way I was going to die at this point, especially on a night I didn't even need to be here. I tried hitting the puppet with my flashlight again, but I couldn't reach it. I groaned with my pain as my arm continued to get squeezed. Its hands were tiny, but it had an extraordinary grip. I then thought of something that could work. I took my flashlight and shone it right in the puppet's eyes. Suddenly, it stopped and let me go. I fell down a bit and quickly got up. After that, I wasted no time tackling the puppet to the ground. I proceeded to punch the stupid thing in the face a few times before I grabbed its neck and squeezed. "How does that feel, you son of a bitch?" I screamed. I don't know how ridiculous it sounds that I was yelling at a possessed toy, but I didn't care. I just kept squeezing in rage. I was angry. I was angry at the manager. I was angry at this job. I was angry at myself. I was just angry. I stopped squeezing when I saw what I did. The head of the puppet had snapped off its neck. I squeezed it completely off. I slowly stood up and stared at the puppet. Man, this is twice I broke something out of my anger. Of course, it was self-defense. I then found myself collapsing of exhaustion. I started breathing heavily. I slowly looked at my watch. 5:58. I leaned against the wall and slowly breathed. I was going to make it. I know I was. Suddenly, I heard footsteps approaching me. I picked up my flashlight very slowly and shone it towards the entrance. My heart started beating faster. Old Freddy was in the doorway, looking me right in the eye. I stared at the animatronic and came to a conclusion. I don't care what happens now. I've been through so much shit tonight, let alone this whole week, that I don't care if he gets me or not. Old Freddy slowly walked towards me with his hand extended in front of him. I just stared at his mechanical eyes and silently stared him to do it, to just finish me off. He crept closer and closer to me. His hand was practically a foot away from my face at this point. I then closed my eyes and took a deep breath. This was it. I was going to die from a damn robot. The worst part is I knew this could happen, but I never wished any of my friends and family a proper goodbye. I felt a tear slide down my cheek. Out of all the people I could be angry with right now, I was most angry at myself. I knew the dangers I was in, but I kept coming back. Why? Because of a fucking car. And now I'm never going to get to live to see one. Way to go, Jeremy Fitzgerald. Way to go. Suddenly, I heard a noise I had heard all week. An 8-note chime that signaled a very important time. I opened my eyes. Freddy's hand was right in front of my face. If he were any closer, he'd be touching me. Old Freddy then backed away from me and turned around. A few seconds later, old Bonnie and old Chica entered the room as well. As for me, I just continued to sit against the wall. I just wanted to stay here just a bit longer to get enough strength to leave this place for good. Whew. Payday. Mr. Fitzgerald? I opened my eyes suddenly. How long was I out? I slowly stood up and walked around. I was still in parts and service closet. It was still pretty dark, though. Mr. Fitzgerald, where are you? I'm coming. Fast as I could, which wasn't really fast, I opened the door and light shone right into my eyes. I don't remember it ever being this bright in the restaurant. I walked down the hallway and into the main area, where I saw a familiar face with a familiar attire. Well, he told me. You actually managed to survive. You sound surprised, I told him coldly. He replied with a soft smile. Well, as promised, he continued as he reached into his purple coat. Here's your week's pay, as well as your overtime pay. He then pulled out 2 white rectangles out of his pocket and proceeded to hand them to me. I took a look at them and made sure everything checked out. 105 and 50 $10 to Jeremy Fitzgerald. Check the other one. 20 and 10 over $100 to Jeremy Fitzgerald. It wasn't much of an overtime pay, but I'll take it. No point in arguing at this point. I'm sure the assistant manager explained this already, he continued, but we'd like you to work one more day. I know, I grumbled. When's this stupid birthday party? From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., he replied. After that, we closed for a while. Speaking of which, I asked, why is this place closing now? The manager shrugged. We had an incident, he replied. It's safer to close than to deal with it. I scoffed. Sounds like a very familiar tactic. Well, get some rest, Mr. Fitzgerald, he concluded. You seem to have had a long night. I'd get some rest before the party. Sure, I replied with a mumble. I then slowly walked out of the restaurant and headed towards the car. I had my paycheck, the one thing I'd been looking forward to all week, yet I didn't feel happy or accomplished. If anything, I found myself asking if it was all worth it. At any rate, I definitely need as much rest as possible for this final event at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Hopefully Jacob and Courtney found something about the restaurant. Final shift. Oh boy. Definitely one of the more interesting and infamous parts of this story. At 9:55 that morning, I got out of my mom's car with a thermos of hot coffee. I took a small sip and walked towards Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. This was the final event before the place closed. It's in the day, though, so hopefully it'll go as smooth as it possibly can. I walked inside and instantly yawned and rubbed my eyes. I barely got that much sleep when I got home. Hopefully it won't mess up my performance. Jeremy? I opened my eyes and saw a very familiar girl behind the counter. Why is he coming for more? Yeah, honestly, that is a fair question. He had his paycheck, so why does he even still need to be there? I don't know. Yeah, that's a fair point. There's really no reason he still needs to be there. Courtney, I said with surprise. I thought you worked later. I used to, she replied, but the other greeters all quit when the place closed. I would have done it too, but the manager told me I had to do this party today or else I wouldn't get my final paycheck. Pretty much sums up my situation, I replied with a chuckle. Only I already got my paycheck. I then proceeded to take the 2 checks out of my pocket to show her. She took them and looked at them. Why do you still have these on you? She asked. I fell asleep in my uniform as soon as I got home, I replied. Never took them out of my pocket. Gotcha. She then took another look at the checks. Wait a second, she suddenly said. This isn't right. Huh? Look at the date. It's way off. I looked at the check. I took the checks back at her and looked at the date on them. It clearly read 11/12/1987. Huh, I told her. That's definitely not right, but I wouldn't say it's way off. Well, it's June now. That date says November. So it's 5 months ahead. Big deal. This is a nice little reveal because, again, just to show where the fans were at the time, FNAF 2 was set up in such a way to make it actually look like a sequel, but by the end of the game, it became abundantly clear that it's actually a prequel to the first game. So all the talk about the old restaurants, about 5 missing kids, that was a completely separate incident than the one that was described in the first FNAF game. So that was such a total mind blow. So I formatted this story the exact same way to more or less give the implication that it's a sequel set after the first game. There was actually one person who speculated that the day shift guard was actually Mike. I didn't come up with that. I wasn't trying to imply that, but it worked. But yeah, so then this reveal, like, it's way off, makes you think it's like 30 years past. It's like, no, it's actually 5 months ahead. So yeah, that was fun. I then put the check. So yeah, this entire story is set in June of 1987. So it's 5 months ahead. Big deal. I then put the checks back in my pockets. Well, my only job for today is to stay by the animatronics to make sure they don't cause trouble, I continued. Sounds easy enough. That it does, Courtney agreed. Still, just try and focus. Oh, I will. Oh, by the way, did you and Jacob find anything? Not yet. Jacob's at the library right now trying to find whatever he can. That's good. Well, we better get to work. Yes, we should. I then took another sip from my coffee and walked towards the show stage. The 3 toys were still there, as suspected. I looked towards the hallway and saw the parts and service closet at the end, door closed. I don't think those 4 would be a problem today. I looked towards the other end of the game area. An obvious thing was missing was a certain animatronic that sold balloons. The present box in the corner was wide open, and the far side of the entrance was the entrance to Kids Cove. It seemed to be locked. I assume there won't be any toddlers at the party today, which is perfect. No sarcasm at all. Finally, the party started when the birthday girl arrived. She was apparently celebrating her 6th birthday with her parents, sibling, and a few friends and their parents. It seemed as if this day couldn't get any better. The kids were playing around in the game area for the majority of the first half hour. They were on the arcade games, carousel, and all the other attractions for them to entertain themselves. The adults were all gathered by the show stage, ordering pizza and soda for the children. I looked towards the show stage again. Before the party started, the curtain closed, and that's how they were now. And it would stay that way until the show started soon. Hopefully there wouldn't be any problems. Oh yeah, I forgot this little bit. Excuse me, mister. I looked and saw the birthday girl in front of me, looking at me with giant green eyes. Yes? Where's the boom boy? Why do you ask? Because I wanted a boom from him, and he's so nice. Oh, well, he has a bad headache right now. Really? Yep, it's so bad it's like his head is completely gone. Oh no. Yeah, but I'll make sure to tell him that you were looking for him. Okay, but will he be better before the party's over? Sure, definitely. Really? Yay, thanks, mister. No problem, kid. Now go have fun. Okay. She then ran off back towards the game area. I then took a deep breath. Did I seriously lie to a little girl? Well, I suppose it's not my fault he got destroyed, but... Oh, wait, it is my fault. Hey, kiddies! The adults instantly got quiet as the children instantly got louder. It was a voice that was practically known to everyone there. Is everyone ready to sing and dance? Oh yeah, BB absolutely deserved it, no question about it. Is everyone ready to sing and dance? Yes! The kids all screeched as at the closed curtain. Alrighty then get ready for the one, the only Freddy Fazbear Band! The kids continued to cheer as the curtains opened up, revealing the toys all waving to the children. So far everything seemed to look good. Okay, kiddies, Toy Freddy told them. Let's start the show. Hit it, Chica! Toy Chica then started playing the keyboard. A few seconds later, Toy Bonnie started strumming his red guitar. Finally, Toy Freddy started singing the song. Children all cheered and sang along as the animatronics played the cheesy tune. I slowly backed away towards Courtney, who was still behind the counter. At least I'll keep them out of her hair for a while, I told her. No kidding, she replied with a laugh. But aren't you supposed to be watching the guys on stage? Yeah, but I don't think they'll do anything as of now. They're too busy singing. True, I just hate to have a kid hurt by one of those things. Same here. That's why when they start walking around, I'll keep a close eye on them. You better. Suddenly, the front door opened. We both turned and saw Jacob in the doorway with a red face and deeply breathing. Jacob, Courtney gasped. Are you okay? Of course, he replied. But that's not important. I found something. I think I found something. What did you find? I asked. He replied by handing me some sort of book. And I took it out of his hand and looked at it. It was apparently a book of local criminals from the past 50 years. I bookmarked a certain someone, he replied with a short breath. Check it out. Sure enough, there's a red bookmark poking out of the book. I flipped it open and was shocked at what I saw. A young man with long black hair and a greasy beard. The day guard? I asked. Holy shit, Courtney whispered. I told you. It says he was arrested in 1980 for assaulting his sister. He was just released 2 years ago. Damn, I mumbled. I actually wouldn't have guessed. Well, that's great, Courtney told Jacob. But how does this really help us? Well, it doesn't, but it's the most I could find, Jacob replied. Actually, I replied, you may have found something better. Huh? The two asked. Look on the opposite page, I commanded. Does he look familiar? I pointed to the portrait at the page opposite of the day guards. Courtney then took a deep gasp. If his hair was gray instead of black, she said quietly, I'd say that was the manager. Hold up, the manager of this place? Jacob asked. That's right, I replied. It says he was arrested because he kidnapped a child? What? Courtney gasped. When? 1972, apparently. Holy shit. What? Jacob asked. The kid he kidnapped was the son of his boss at the time. Why would he do that? According to him, he did it to get back at his boss and that he needed a favor from him. This was the only way to do it. What kind of favor requires kidnapping? Courtney asked. I think it might be management of a restaurant. Are you serious, Jeremy? Does this look like the time to be joking? I replied. You really think he kidnapped his boss's son to become a manager? Courtney asked. Yes, well, it's only a guess, but it's better than what we knew beforehand. That seems a bit far-fetched to me, Jeremy, Jacob told him. Well, it's a start, Courtney said with a shrug. Hey, Jacob suddenly said. What's that room over there? I looked where he was pointing. Oh, that's Kid's Cove. It's where the toddlers and the younger kids go. Huh, I don't see any toddlers here. There aren't any, Courtney replied. Then why's the door open? I looked back towards the cove again and noticed he was right. The door was unlocked and wide open. I didn't do that, I said. Me neither, Courtney gasped. We should check that out, I told them both. Good idea, Courtney said with a nod. We then walked towards Kid's Cove very carefully. Wait up! I turned and saw Jacob jumping over the counter. I rolled my eyes and kept going towards the cove. The room itself was completely dark. Was anyone even inside? Is there even anything in here? Jacob asked. Is it just this stage and coloring area? No, there's an animatronic we call the Mangle, Courtney explained. Where? Well, it's supposed to be over on the stage. Oh shit, I gasped. What? They asked. We need to find Mangle and stop it from hurting anyone. What's the worst it could do? Jacob asked. Hey, what's that noise? Courtney asked. What, the singing? No, it kind of sounds like static. Oh no, I heard quietly. I hear it too, Jacob said quietly. Kind of sounds like it's right above us. Jeremy, look out! As soon as I heard Courtney scream at me, I instantly looked upwards. I immediately saw the face of an open-mouthed white fox falling from the ceiling and towards my face. I screamed as I saw Mangle fall. Then, out of the blue, I felt myself get pushed off to the side. I landed on my side and hit my head on the floor. I'd be surprised if I didn't have a concussion after all these hits. I then heard a loud crash and a loud feminine scream simultaneously. I looked over, I looked towards where I was just standing and gasped. I saw my brother fall over, with the mangle sticking out of him. Its mouth seemed to be lodged into his forehead. I then suddenly heard all the kids screaming. I turned towards the show stage and saw all of them looking at my brother, who was not moving and had trickles of blood dripping from his forehead. His eyes were partially open, as well as his mouth. Jacob! Courtney screeched. She then reached down and tried yanking Mangle off of him. It was no use, though. Its teeth were lodged into him tight. Call an ambulance! I screamed at the guests. I then bent down next to my brother and looked him in the eyes. They got paler all of a sudden. I then put my finger on the side of his neck. I felt a pulse. It was faint, but it was there. I said call a fucking ambulance! I screamed louder. I then saw a woman run towards the payphone near the entrance. Half the kids started crying, and the other half were asking what was going on. Their parents were trying to shield them from the sight of my unconscious brother. I looked up at Courtney, who was sobbing her eyes out as she held Jacob's hand. I slowly took his other one and looked at him. That was going to be me. I was supposed to have been bit, but he pushed me away. I squeezed his hand harder. He sacrificed himself for me. That's something I don't think I can ever repay him for. I just pray he's going to make it. Somehow, some way he's going to make it. I sat in the chair in the hospital room, staring at my brother in the bed. He had his eyes completely closed, mouth partially open, and a blood-stained bandage wrapped around the top of his head. It was like this for a few days now. There wasn't much action out of him, save for a time his heart rate slightly increased for a few seconds. Hey. I looked towards the hospital room and saw Courtney with a depressed smile. Hey, I replied. How's he doing? The doctor said he's lucky to be alive, but there's no way he can be the same again. What do you mean? Mangle was stuck in there good. To get him out, to get it out of him, they had to cut part of his brain out. Oh, God. They claim it was most of the frontal lobe, which apparently isn't that important when it comes to breathing and all that. So, is he gonna wake up? With the right treatments, the doctor claimed he should be out of his coma within another week. What'll happen then? Well, the frontal lobe is apparently where you get things like long-term memory and emotion, so it's gonna be a bit of a challenge for him to continue living. Being on his own is pretty much an impossibility as of now. Oh, how are your parents taking this? They're a mixture of heartbroken and pissed. They claimed they would sue Fazbear Entertainment if the restaurant wasn't technically closed. I have a feeling the manager suspected something like this would happen. I'm sure. We both sat and stared at Jacob. The only sound was coming from the heart monitor next to him. I then deeply sighed. That could have been me lying there, I said aloud to nobody in particular. I could have been the one with part of his brain missing. I could have been the one. Jeremy, it's not your fault, Courtney told me. Mangle was going after me because I'm a guard, I replied. But your brother took the damage for you. That was his own choice. And look where that got him. But don't you see? You're here, completely unharmed. He saved your life without a second thought. Yeah, that's true. Jeremy, he loved you enough to get himself hurt to protect you. I then sighed and rubbed my eyes. I could feel them getting wet. Poor Jacob. Yeah, poor Jacob indeed. Poor Jeremy, poor Jacob, poor Courtney. But, come on, I couldn't not add the Bite of 87 to the story. I mean, to this day, we don't have a clear answer on the Bite of 87, what it was, what significance it has, who did it even, but come on, I couldn't not include the Bite of 87 in this story. And the general consensus is that it was during this final party. Because after that is when we get this newspaper article that's coming up explaining that the robots are being scrapped, so. I then sighed by my eyes. I could feel them getting wet. Anyway, she continued, I wanted to show you something from today's paper. She then pulled a roll-up newspaper from her purse and handed it to me. I unrolled it and looked at the front page. It was the 3 toys all waving at the reader. The headline read, Robots Scrapped. I then proceeded to read the article. After being open a few short weeks, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is closing its doors. The new animatronics will be scrapped due to possible malfunctions. However, the original characters are being kept in hopes of a possible reorganization of the company. It's a minor setback. We're confident we will reopen again, even if it's with a much smaller budget. CEO, Fazbear Entertainment. I then gave the paper back to her. Possible malfunctions? I asked. One of them turned my brother into a vegetable. Like they're going to put that in the paper, she replied. Fazbear Entertainment probably wants to save as much face as possible. Well, let's see. A child was murdered, 5 went missing, and a civilian was severely hospitalized. Do you really think they have any trust from anyone left? Out of all the depictions of the bite, this is the most creative, with it being during the day and all. Yeah, exactly. Again, not to toot my own horn here a little bit, but yeah, I agree. I'm very much proud of how I incorporated the bite. Well, I'll definitely be surprised if it ever reopens again. Same here. Ha 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 ha. Dramatic irony. Ha 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 ha. We both turned back to my brother, not knowing what else to say. All I know is that Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has made a giant impact on my life in many ways. Here's hoping nobody else gets affected negatively from this place in the future. Ha ha ha. Dramatic irony. Then the epilogue. Quite easily one of the most important chapters of these stories is this epilogue. It's now 2015, a whole 28 years since Jacob's incident, which has now been given the name The Bite of 87. After word of what happened to him was revealed to the public, Fazbear Entertainment was given a lot of harassment. The CEO claimed he agreed the robots were not suitable for children, that the old models would be much safer. I actually received the biggest shock of my life when I heard the place reopened. It was in a new location across town, and it was a much smaller building. What shocked me the most was that people were still visiting the place. Of course, a good amount of time had passed since the last closing, so maybe they assumed it was all a rumor. My family and I knew better, of course. Jacob miraculously made a recovery from his incident. As the doctors predicted, he had memory problems and other complications. It was a challenge, but we all tried our best to help him. Courtney was constantly with him and keeping him calm, and Mom and Dad were always showing him family videos and pictures. Maybe they make the teeth into something softer. Yeah, if you look at the FNAF animatronics, aside from Foxy, they actually have some softer teeth. Well, that would be the smart thing to do, so they would... That would be a smart thing to do, so they would never do it. And me? Well, I still felt partially responsible for what happened to him, so I did my best to pay for all of his medical expenses, starting with the $20.60 I earned for my 6 nights at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. After learning everything I went through to get a car, my parents finally decided to buy one for me. In a way, it almost made me feel like that week was pointless, but there's nothing any of us can do about it now. I found a job at a local burger joint, which actually offered way more money than Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. But I didn't keep a single cent for me. All of it went to Jacob. Since I gave all my money to him, I kind of have a poor living arrangement. I'm not talking about a tiny apartment in a bad part of town. I'm talking about an alleyway in the busy area of town. Mom and Dad call me crazy and that I should just live with them and Jacob, but I tell them there's no need to spend money on me. It should all go to Jacob. I chose the alley I stayed at for a specific reason. It was a few buildings away from the new Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I saw many night guards go into the job, and many never come out. So I do my best to help the new guards survive. It doesn't always work, though. Even the assistant manager from the old location didn't make it more than a few weeks. Ah, you sly bastard. Yep. The homeless guy is Jeremy. It was 1000% a retcon, but it's a retcon that works. I'll never forget this one guard in particular, though. He looked about how old I was when I worked at the restaurant. He had black hair and a soul patch, as well as a serious attitude. I remember after his first shift, he gave the manager the bird when he found out about the new policy of a contract that requires guards to ultimately work until they die. I actually laughed when I saw him do that. Yeah, again, totally a retcon, but I'm so glad I found a way to make that work. Because basically what I was thinking was, okay, the story is set in 1987, so where's Jeremy now? Because that was my question. What would Jeremy be doing now during the time of the first story? So my mind got racing about what he would realistically do, and I thought, oh my gosh, I have the greatest idea. After his third shift, I called him over to help him out a bit. Hey, you're that new security guard at their pizza place? Yeah, he replied cautiously. Come here, I can help you. I'm actually kind of tired. Do you want to die tomorrow? No. Then get over here so I can help you. So, a few seconds later, he jogged over to me and I explained how to survive. I even gave a fake story about how I used to work at that restaurant and pretty much became a hobo because of it. Although maybe my advice didn't help completely. A few days later, I saw him inside a Freddy Fazbear suit. Some girl about his age was carrying him out of the building and into a car. I want to believe he made it, but I doubt it. Dramatic irony. That building's actually going to be torn down in about a week, even though it closed in 1997 for sanitation purposes. Apparently the animatronics were leaking blood and mucus. I think that answers the question of the five more children that went missing that year. This is pretty much the story of my life now. It's not the best one, but it's certainly not an awful one. Well, okay, it sounds awful, but compared to working at a death trap like Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it's paradise. The end. Wow. I definitely still love this story. Definitely doesn't hold up as much as I thought, mainly because of that continuity error that I don't know how I just now noticed existed. But for the most part, I absolutely still love this story. Absolutely still love what it did. Because like I said, that one epilogue, that one chapter just was like probably the most important chapter in the entire series, if I'm being honest. Phew, it's finally done. I really enjoyed making the story on Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and I certainly enjoyed hearing all your feedback. You guys are my biggest reason to keep the stories going. What I liked the most about writing the story was adding all the theories and lore about the game. I especially loved trying to get you guys to figure out if I was following the prequel theory or not. Ever since I discovered the prequel theory, I realized I had to do to you what Scott Cawthon did to all of us. Make it appear to be a sequel, but it's actually a prequel. I actually gave a few hints throughout the story, such as the newspaper articles in the police station not mentioning the bite, an event that hasn't happened yet. This was a subtle one, but none of the characters used cell phones or any technology not available in 1987. Overall, I'm glad the story worked out great for everyone. And for those of you who are asking, I will be making a story on FNAF 3 when it comes out. If anyone asks how I'm making a FNAF 3 story anymore, they clearly didn't read everything. And I kept true to that promise. I did make a FNAF 3 story. With that, oh yeah. Oh, that's a memory right there. With that, I need to stay warm. I'm waiting outside for a concert, and I've got a long wait ahead of me. So I want to say thanks again, everybody. I'd like to encourage you with my other stories. Yeah. Oh, I wrote the final chapters of that story while I was waiting outside for a concert in the winter. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was January. I want to say January of 2015. Oh, man, what a time that was. My goodness. Oh, yeah, so this is when I announced the new story. Oh, man. Oh, man. Well, that was Five Nights at Freddy's grand reopening. And, again, doesn't completely hold up as much as I thought, but I'd still say it holds up very well. I'm so glad I read through this again. Definitely glad. Definitely glad. Again, I had my moments of cringe, not as much as Golden Freddy. I don't think I'm gonna be cringing hard. Hi, Troubles. I don't think I'm gonna be cringing as hard as when I read Golden Freddy, but yeah, definitely a nice little memory lane right there. Definitely good memory lane. All right, so after this is Fazbear Fright, which is based on FNAF 3. So after that, well, I suppose technically we're about halfway there because there's technically 7 stories, about 6.5 because 7th one still isn't finished after all these years, still not finished, but it came in late and it was still super entertained. It was all about it. Yeah, usually these stories don't really get the most entertaining by the end because, spoiler alert, that's when the final night is when the guard escapes and is basically allowed to free roam a little bit. So that's, I feel like that's when things start getting really interesting. All the other nights are more Joe just describing the events of the game, which can get tedious after a while. But yeah, I'm glad they're still entertaining to this day. Absolutely still glad. But yeah, Dems, I encourage you to, if you want to rewatch the stream, just get an idea of the full story, but that's up to you. I mean, you know how it ends, but hey, people have still reread these stories thousands of times, even know how they're ending, so whatever. Man. It's been 3 hours? 3 hours. Man, where does the time go? I guess maybe closer to 2.5, but still. Oh, my goodness. Why do you get truffles? You've been in this room how many times? Yeah, don't mind me. I got my little cat in here, just acting like she's never been here before. Just walking around sniffing everything, as if things have changed in here, which they have not. What? You hear me talking about you, so you're just gonna cry? Yeah, you guys start crying because you hear me talking about you. Oh, come here. Come here. Let's show everyone to you. Yeah, she doesn't like being held, so I won't hold her for long. But hey, Truffles. Hi, Truffles. Oh. Hi, baby girl. How are you doing? Yeah, you're probably so scared out of your mind because you don't like being held. That's okay, though. It's okay. Okay. Alright, so guess I'm pretty much just doing whatever at this point. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna. Yeah, I'll definitely give a heads up again when I'm gonna be streaming again. Again, not sure if it'll be a game. Again, the only reason I did the. Wait, you did more than. Oh yeah, I did one on all the games. Yeah, I did FNAF 4. I did Sister Location, and the finale story, which is ultimately had to wrap up everything up. It started off as an original story. It started off as an original story just to wrap everything up, but then FNAF 6 came out of nowhere. So then I rethought it a bit, found a way to work FNAF 6 into it, but the story's not done. So it's kind of a little bit of a running joke is when the finale is going to get finished, and I don't have an answer. At this point, I want to say it's too late but anything's possible. So don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but don't expect that to be soon finished. But yeah, so if you want, you can even go to my Wattpad and check them out if you want to, because I definitely did more than just the first 3 games. Aw, it almost looks like the cat I used to see around my area. Yeah, she's a little calico. She was found on the side of the road by a family friend, picked her up, and rest is history. Totally missed those. Yeah, well, they're there. So yeah, if you want a fresh first impression, yeah, they're there. You can check them out. So next story is gonna be Fazbear Frights, which is based off the 3rd game. Again, not sure if it'll be the next thing I stream. Again, the only reason I streamed book after book is because I just really wanted to read Grand Reopening, because I just reminded of how much I enjoy it. But I might do a game before then. Fun fact, I did order a Valve Index, the VR headset, and I do have some games in my Steam library ready for when that arrives. I don't know when it'll arrive, but if it arrives relatively soon, well, you know. Because I got a few games. Half-Life Alyx came with it by default, but I I may or may not have gotten a mini game collection of the Five Nights at Freddy's games put into a 3D VR environment. May not have done that. But I've also got a few games in there that I don't know if I'll stream them, but I feel like it'll still just be a fun little experience for me, just get used to VR. But yeah, that's something to look forward to in the future. Again, I'll definitely be sure to let y'all know when I get those. But in the meantime, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I've been talking nonstop for 3 hours now. Even with water breaks, my throat needs a rest, and I am pretty hungry. So yeah, that'll do it for this stream. Thank you again for watching. Yeah, it's definitely been a fun experience as per usual. And oh, little Truffles, just hiding over there now. Oh, did I freak you out? I'm sorry. Okay, but yeah, that'll do it for this stream. Catch you guys next time, hopefully. And if you can't make it, don't feel bad. Again, real life should always be more important. Did you only narrate the first thing? Yes. I only did the first 3 audiobooks. That's probably why you were confused. But yeah, I only did the first 3 as audiobooks. But yeah. So, and again, I feel like it's definitely too late at this point to do audiobooks with the other ones, but we'll see. Anyway, so yeah, that'll do it for here. Catch you guys next time, and yeah, not sure how to end it.